Logan, and look, we got Austin the Day Goes.
Yo.
And it's Connor Nielsen.
Hello.
Connor Nielsen rocking his Tim Burton sunglasses.
And doing like a really dramatic pose there where he was like...
Well, the button to unmute is all the way over there.
That's what I figured, but the way you had to do it looked so dramatic.
I said Tim Burton. I think he's actually doing his impression of all film directors. This is Connor as directors.
Yeah, you can't see, but he's got the chair underneath.
That says director.
No, it just says
Nielsen. Everybody, we're going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 today. We were originally going to do this last weekend, and Austin couldn't make it, and I decided I really wanted a second watch of this before we talked it out anyway, so I'm glad we waited. I know a lot of folks have... already, obviously, it's been a week, done videos on this, and I don't know why, this one in particular, it feels like we waited a month. It's like everybody's said everything they had to say about this. Somebody, before we got started, was like, I kind of even forgot about a review from you guys on this movie. Like, we've moved on. Everybody's waiting for Spider-Verse 2 now or something. Or maybe our audience is waiting for that. I don't know how that's going to do. I gotta half expect that to kind of bomb. I guess we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, we're going to talk about Guardians. It's fresh in my mind because I just saw it again yesterday. And Connor, have you been more than once or just the one time? I know you've been super busy with your move and stuff.
Yeah, I made plans with my little brother to go see it because he really likes the Guardians, and we're watching it tomorrow, which will be my second time. So I've only seen it once.
Okay, cool. And Austin, I'm going to guess you've been to the theater 3 times already.
I've not, and I also have that month thing that you were just talking about, because my one brother messaged me today, and he was like, hey, like, we should all get together and go see Guardians 3, and I was like, oh, I don't know, like, I'm going away next weekend, like, will it even be in theaters after that?
Yeah, it's weird, it feels like it's been out a while.
Yeah, so I don't know what it's about.
So... everything about this movie is fascinating, from to how it got made or almost didn't happen with Gunn at all, to it being 6 years since the last one, which is nuts. I don't know where all this time went, to a lot of story choices, and this being, in a lot of ways, I think, not at all like what people were expecting it to be, and audiences seem, for the most part, really happy with it, but I think people were kind of dismayed and shocked by how kind of dour and I mean, I don't mean overall, but just especially the initial setup of this thing. I don't think people expected to go into 3. You know, they probably figured they'd be emotional because it's the last one, and a lot of the advertising was, oh, it's the last time we're going to be together, fly away into the sky or whatever. And I don't think a lot of people expected the third one to be the most disappointing. Like, if Guardians has an empire, this is its empire now, and it's the third one. And so I'm very interested to see how you guys responded to this. Austin and I have talked it out a little bit already, but I don't have any clue as to where Connor lands on it, and it should be interesting. So if you want to help us direct the conversation, you can be like Connor and be a director. You can leave a super chat in any dollar amount that guarantees that we'll talk about whatever aspect you'd like, or read your thoughts and respond to them on air. Anything that we don't happen to get to, make sure that you throw us a question either that way or in regular comments, and we'll get to as many of them as possible. I don't expect this one to be super short. There's a lot to go through with this, but we will start, as we always do, with our sign flip and with our general feelings, and we will then get to spoilers. So everybody, make sure not to do too much spoiler talk until we get to that part of it. I'm sure most of our audience has seen this already, but, just for the sake of being consistent and doing what we usually do, we'll do a sort of non-spoiler portion at the beginning. And Austin, would you, as I usually make you do, give us a little synopsis for Guardians Volume 3 without too much in the way of spoilers.
Without spoiling anything.
So
okay.
yeah, so give us a synopsis, but don't tell us anything.
Okay, so the Guardians, they now live on nowhere, when suddenly the Oscar that the MCU has been chasing all these years shows up, and his name is Adam Warlock, and he injures Rocket, and then it becomes a race to save Rocket, and I don't know if I can go farther without spoilers, but they're gonna try.
He was genetically engineered. We knew that already. It happened by a guy named the High Evolutionary. That was all over the trailers.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
He's the big bad guy. Adam Warlock is like that secondary threat. Like, these always have that secondary threat, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's start with Connor. Connor, tell us how you felt about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Give us your best thing, worst thing, sign flip, general thoughts walking out. We'll give you the floor, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I was actually not that excited for it because I knew it was coming out, but it didn't really dawn on me how soon it was coming out. And I mean, it's been 6 years. And Guardians Volume 2 is one of my favorite Marvel movies. It's certainly up there. And I remember coming out of Guardians 2, I said, part of me is a little surprised the Marvel logo is even on this thing. It feels so much more like a James Gunn movie. And I did not foresee the MCU kind of going in the direction it has the last few years. And James Gunn growing in the way that he has as a filmmaker over the last few years. So that kind of chasm between it feeling Volume 2 feeling like a James Gunn movie versus an MCU movie was kind of big. I was not prepared for how huge that dearth would feel in Volume 3. Like, this does not feel like a Marvel movie to me. And I think that's cool. I think that I like this movie quite a bit. I don't think I like it as much as number 2. I put it about on the same par as number 1. And I think the Guardians Holiday Special is probably my favorite thing of the Guardians. So I don't think I like it as much as the Suicide Squad, but I do really like it quite a bit. Best thing about this is I'm going to go with tone. The movie I was reminded of most while watching this, and it's kind of a weird comparison, but it's a movie called Lost Highway, and they're nothing alike, but they both have very difficult to describe tones, but they're very specific. If you look at this movie, it's melancholy, it's really sad, it's kind of angry in places, and it does have comedy and like the familiar beats that you kind of expect from a Guardians and a Marvel movie, but they really do feel like they are second or third layered beneath what feels like James Gunn really airing out some feelings he's had creatively. And any one of those tones of being melancholy or sad or angry or whatever, those are difficult tones to nail on their own. And he's doing all of them at once. And I don't know what to call this tone, but I could like feel it in me the entire time. And so I really enjoyed that. I would say my least favorite thing about this is I think that there's a little bit of balancing issues when it comes to the different characters. I think that, I don't know, my least favorite aspect of these Guardians movies has been the Star-Lord Gamora romance. And when it comes to this, Star-Lord isn't the protagonist this time around, it's Rocket. And so it does kind of feel a little bit like a thankless role to give Chris Pratt to just kind of be like drunk and sad about Gamora. And there's stuff there that is kind of cool on a story level. I just think in terms of how that relationship has sort of felt a little obligatory to me the last few movies, and then kind of just, well, what does Star-Lord do? Well, he likes Gamora. So that was probably my least favorite aspect. But I found this to be impressive and pretty effective and affecting. Anyways, thumbs up, liked it.
He's just getting away from our whole sign flip thing. He's like, nah, I'm doing thumbs, man. It's Siskel and Ebert time.
Yeah. I'm sorry. My sign is packed up. It ain't here.
He's like, I'm holding a red mug, and I liked it, so I can't do anything with this mug.
His thumb is green with envy.
So. Yeah. And one last thing. I will see better movies this year, I'm sure. I'm sure I will actually like this movie a lot on rewatches, because I thought Guardians 2 was just okay on my first time around, and I really liked it the second time. I liked this quite a bit the first time around. I think I will grow to love this movie. But as of right now, how I'm feeling is I'm sure I will like more movies this year than Guardians, but I don't think there will be a scene that fills my heart with more joy this year than Drax saying he's going to be a monkey and then making beep boop noises and then walking like a robot. I loved that. I can't even hardly describe why. I thought that was wonderful. Anyways, that's all.
So that's really interesting, given the experience I had with it, which of course I'll talk about after I let Austin go. But I just have to say, and I don't want to get into specifics too much yet, but I took my son Mikey with me the second time, which I was really leery of doing because this is in a lot of ways not at all a kids movie, and it's weird the ways in which it really would appeal to kids as long as they're not too freaked out and want to run away from some of the creepier and scarier stuff. And I mean, in places it's relentless, right? But I didn't really appreciate the appeal of Drax doing that the first time around, the monkey thing, because I'm in the camp that never liked how dumbed down we made him in the second movie and how he's intentionally an idiot now. But then I'm looking over at my 4-year-old Mikey, and he's having the exact same response that the children are to Drax doing the monkey thing, and I'm like, okay, well at least Gunn nailed this for how children would respond, because my kid thinks he's in one of those cages right now.
Well, yeah, that's like absurdist kind of weird random humor. There's a certain brand of it that I like, and I think you've mentioned, Cap, that you also enjoy a certain brand of kind of random non sequitur humor. I think you and I have very different tastes in terms of the strain of absurdist sequiturs,
Sure, yeah.
non sequiturs that we like. I think what I responded to with that is that it felt very genuine, like either James Gunn or Dave Bautista or someone on the set did that with their kid, and something about that seemed to translate.
Sure.
And I don't know if I would usually find that funny. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Austin, I know you had a really unusual and interesting experience with Des, and I'm very curious to hear you talk about what your second watch was like. So how did you feel about this movie, Austin, being the massive, giant Guardians fan that you are? Austin's like a Guardians fan on the level that I'm a Star Trek fan.
Yeah, it's really weird. I don't know. Guardians hits me in like a certain place, like at like the right exact moments at certain points in my life where I'm like in like a rough moment or whatever, and it's like, here's this thing, and then it's like it just kind of like bubbled outwards from stuff like that. So yeah, I had a really weird experience the first time because my dog died like a month before this came out, and there was like a very specific shot at the beginning that just kind of set me off in a way where I was like, I can't even focus on this movie. Like that's too much in my head now. And I wasn't able to pay attention really. And like the movie felt like it was on like fast forward, like through a lot of it. And like there was these moments where I was like, characters, like they're talking like fast, like everything's moving really fast. Like I can't comprehend what's happening. Like I don't know what's going on. And I don't really settle in until the end of the second act. And then after that, I was like, okay, all of this was really cool. Like I really liked what was here, but like I don't know what happened before this point. And then the second watch felt like what I expected going in the first time, where like I just watched it and I thought it was really good. And I was able to pick up on more stuff, obviously, having seen it a second time and knowing where it was going. And I think that made it a lot easier seeing the beginning stuff, where I was like, okay, but I know that by the end it's going to be much more of like a celebration than like a downbeat thing, and I think that was like made it easier to get through. So that was definitely a thing. For best thing, worst thing, and without going into spoilers yet, okay, so my worst thing, I won't get into specifics yet, but as of right now, I think my main story issue is there's like a Drax thing in the middle, and I don't know how I feel about it, where he makes a specific choice, and it feels too easy. And for best thing, oh, okay. The best thing is really stupid, which is that you know how we always complain about how every comic book movie now is like, here's like 8,000 characters that are cast, and you'll go to see the movie and like they're not in it. This movie like really hit me with a character that is like throughout the film, where I was like, oh, that's a comic book character, and it completely blindsided me, and it was that was a really cool experience because we never have that anymore.
And then you
So-
told me what that was, and that went totally over my head because I had never heard of
Yeah,
that
and
character.
Cap wasn't able to catch it.
I looked it up later, and I was like, oh, 2004? Well, that's why.
Which
Yep.
character it is?
And you've read
Okay.
more Guardian stuff than me, and more recently than me. Although she's in other stuff, but
Yeah, she is in Abingdon Landing, but
He's
you
talking
read
about
that a while
Philo.
ago. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I should spoil that yet,
I don't
but
think
yeah,
it's a big deal. 'Cause,
Yeah.
you know,
and because
again, most of us
Captain-
have seen it, but also if I don't know who that is,
That's true. And because Captain Marvel like completely ruined Marvel, they just like completely cut that character off.
that's
It's like,
true.
here's
So
just
you're
this
gonna have to
character. She has no relation to that. Don't
totally
worry.
reinvent it. She's probably not even Kree.
No, probably not.
I guess I'm not sure, but I don't think so.
At
I
the
mean-
very least, like experimented on.
Maybe she's supposed to be like part Kree or something because she's got different makeup. I think.
And I guarantee we will use that stuff to introduce Moondragon in a later movie.
Oh, I bet so.
We'll see.
I didn't even have that thought. So,
So yeah,
so
those are
obviously,
my stupid best and worst.
no, that's hilarious. That was the most obscure possible thing you could have said. So I'm assuming that you're also going
that
green.
character.
Nobody's
Yeah,
going with the
I'm
feeling
going
it.
thumbs up.
No one's doing the feeling it
Actually,
scheme.
I'm
Look at the
gonna try- I'm
title of the video.
Actually, never mind. If I could give this movie a rating, I will give it a 9. So there you go. I'm gonna jump to a different rating.
I'll go ahead and give my quick spiel. I never want to seem like all, back and forth and wishy-washy and like I'm coming to reviews without thinking anything through. This is one of those movies where I feel like I almost need like a third viewing to like find my center, because first viewing I had a really weird watch with this and it went in very different ways than I expected it to, and I wasn't sure if they were good ways, and I had this really weird, I don't want to talk about this too much because my second viewing was very different from this. I was kind of like Austin, where I kind of needed to know where it was going before I trusted it. And I'm having this with Gunn in general. I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, which I guess we have to call it now because the other two are 2 and 3. But the first Guardians movie is the only Gunn film I've seen that I liked as much the first time I saw it as I do right now. Every other Gunn movie that I've seen, I either don't like, which is really just a couple of his independent films, because I don't care for Super, and Slither was not my thing, but I liked, I guess, better than Super. But then other things of his that I like now were acquired taste. I had to see The Suicide Squad 4 times before I remotely appreciated that movie, and we're supposed to do a commentary on that. We still haven't gotten to that. That's going to happen next week, finally, hopefully, fingers crossed. I had a family emergency last week, so I had to put it off again. My dad was in the hospital. He's fine now, by the way, but he hurt his foot, and for a minute we thought he was going to lose his foot, and he's okay, and that didn't happen. So anyway, in case anybody was wondering about the family emergency thing, because I was cryptic about that, everything's okay now, but that's why I lost my Friday, because I had to go see him in the hospital. But anyway, so my first viewing, I was very with it at the beginning and was tearing up in the first 10 minutes. And I had the exact same thing at the end of the movie. It was everything in the middle I wasn't totally sure about. I rarely, if ever, have had this experience where a lot of the movie, particularly through the third act, I kind of started checking out and I wasn't into it. And then I got to the last 5 minutes of the movie, and I was back in, and I was tearing up, and I was like, "How does this work? How did I not care about what was happening? But how do I love the beginning and ending of a thing, but I don't care about what happens in the middle?" And I didn't have that the second time around for whatever reason. So I kind of feel like I need to look at it again. I don't know. I think some of it might have just been like personal interest stuff, where it's like characters that are doing certain things or winding up in certain places that I was kind of hoping would, other things would happen. For instance, not to give too much away yet, I didn't love initially Rocket being kind of the MacGuffin of the movie, just because it was kind of his movie, and I thought it was supposed to be more his movie, and I wanted him to be more the central focus. And so it being that stuff being mostly in flashback wasn't in the first place doing it for me. And then once I knew how that related to a lot of other characters, like subplots and arcs and things, I was much more interested in all of that on a second viewing, and he felt much more present to me than he did the first time around. So yeah, I saw it yesterday, and I really enjoyed it. I was very happy with it, and some choices in the third act that did not land for me first time around that I liked a lot more. But we'll get into all of that. My worst thing, I kind of want to go to a stupid thing like with Austin. This isn't really my worst thing. I want to say my worst thing is that Nathan Fillion is showing up in superhero movies, but hasn't gotten to be like an actual cool superhero yet.
Whoa,
I hate that.
Blame that on Marvel. Gunn cast him as Wonder Man. They didn't keep it.
No, I know, but it's like finally you get some screen time in something, and he's still just some guy. That's not actually my worst thing. No, I don't know. At this point, I'm so funky with my two experiences. It's kind of just difficult to say. I guess I'll go to best thing first. I think I'll go to a character. I think the MVP here is Nebula. I love just how much range, like emotional range, that character has been allowed to have now, and I guess along with that, not just say best thing is this particular character. I guess I'll just say that by the end, I was really impressed. I think I'm going to echo Connor because I think he said tone. I was really impressed with a movie that was as somber as this, that was such an uplifting thing by the end. Like, it really, really earns that. I walked into this being afraid of sappiness, and there's a couple of things in the third act that definitely I still have that with, but it's not. It's kind of minor. None of that is a huge problem. But I left going, this was really dire and bleak, and you made me afraid for a couple of characters in particular, but sort of everybody, and not just superficially, oh, who's going to die? I mean, I felt bad for people, and then I got to the end of the movie, and it was in some ways kind of like the perfect way to finish up a trilogy. Like, even if there are a couple of characters that I might not love the choice of where Gunn decided to put them, for the long haul, in the short term, in just with this movie where people are left, I was very moved. I was very satisfied. So yeah, I'm definitely feeling it, and I would have turned my sign green in the first place, but it would have been more of a lukewarm green than I'm giving it now. I think my actual worst thing, now because I'm having a hard time landing on that, my actual worst thing is probably a couple of kind of like standard superhero movie tropes that are in the third act, that I kind of wish this material was a little bit better than, and I'll probably be out on an island with this, but there's a couple of choices where it just felt like kind of the typical thing that Gunn usually tries to avoid, and I think some of that is because of an attempt at working in stuff that Gunn may or may not wanted to actually have to deal with, in particularly with Adam Warlock. So I saw somebody in the comments say that he felt a little bit shoved in. I had that, and I liked it better on a second viewing, but I still have that. And I saw an interview today with Gunn where somebody asked him, like, what was the hardest thing to integrate, and point blank, he wouldn't even let the interviewer finish his sentence. He said Adam Warlock. So it's pretty clear that was a struggle in the script writing process. So there's a choice in the third act that's made with Peter Quill that is there to facilitate Adam Warlock's arc and make that whole thing happen and be able to wrap up and give him kind of a redemption thing. And I don't think that would be there if Adam Warlock could have been, left on the cutting room floor, and I don't think it works the best for the narrative. But again, I liked it a little bit better on a second watch. It's not the storytelling is pretty tight with all of that ultimately, where it is connected thematically to everything that's going on with other characters like Rocket because the kind of major thematic thing with this is like sanctity of life and like all life matters, and characters coming to understand, against the high evolutionary, that like you don't have to be intelligent or brilliant in order for your life to matter, in order for you to contribute something to the universe. And I didn't see that part of it from Adam Warlock the first time around, but I did the second. And so that made that whole, I'm being cryptic, but that made that whole thing work a little bit better. Anyway, so I also give it thumbs up and maybe an 8.
Well, my number was just a Simpsons reference, so.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know what it was out of.
Well, it's just out of like anything, really.
Oh, okay. So I could give it a 2, and you'd be like, "Oh, that's very low," and I'm like, "But you don't know what it's out of. It may not be low." Exactly. I'm sorry, what, Connor?
I said 9 out of 100. Would recommend.
Yeah, it's Bart's book report on Treasure Island. He's like, I read the book Treasure Island. It was written by this guy, and I would give it a 9.
Hey, a couple people in the comments, and there are a couple super chats, we'll get to those in a minute, are already speaking to my worst thing, the idea that there are some kind of standard superhero tropes in the third act. Let's go to, I still haven't made a sign for this, I need to do that. Let's go to full-on spoilers now, and I'm going to read these, and I'd like to hear you guys respond to them, because I've already complained about this, so you guys know I'm probably going to agree with these. So, again, spoilers. So Slipmaker says, we've got the classic won't kill you, don't have to save you moment, so tired. I did feel that way a little bit with Rocket, with his decision not to kill the high evolutionary, and some of it was there's always that question of like, well, in any other scene earlier than this, I could have seen Rocket like killing some random guy and I might not have questioned it, but now he's deciding not to kill the person that he is got the biggest beef with, just because he's got to have that like heroic moment. Why, like, is it earned? Should he be that heroic in the moment? But the bigger thing for me, and I'm really curious to know what you guys think about this scene. The bigger thing for me is, but we had Peter kill the bald guy with the machine thing on his head.
I don't think it's specifically about killing him. I think it's specifically about, I'm not going to, like, execute him on the floor like Optimus Prime in Transformers 3. Like, he's already dead. And the ship is exploding around him. Like, he's already dead. He's like, I'm not just going to, like, execute him on the floor. Like, he's already done. I think it's more so just that.
So you're saying that... Like... But I mean, they're... But everybody else is gonna like run out and escape. So you're saying, you're saying
he's
that
already on the floor dying, and like the rooms around them is exploding. Like, I think he's already dead at that point.
Okay, I didn't really get that from it. So you're saying that he was like so injured that if he just leaves him, he'll die, like regardless even of the explosions and stuff.
He's like barely able to move in that scene. Like he's just on the ground, and he got stabbed in the stomach, and he got shot.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I forgot about that.
His face was ripped off.
That's true. His face is ripped off.
In your review, Cap, I wanted to build off of. You said that a lot of the payoff stuff later on, like
who stabs him? Sorry, I'm trying to remember.
Gamora.
That's right. It's Gamora that does it.
That's how it ends. She like stabs him like the stomach or chest.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of a cool
she's
choice,
crazy.
Yeah.
But I feel like this movie has like some of the best payoff where it's like with the high evolutionary, the entire movie is like, this guy's just like a scumbag. Like I hate this guy. And then he doesn't even get to fight them. Like they just completely kick his ass. And it's so cathartic. And like there's just so many moments like that, I thought.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm more on Cap's side with this one because like that felt like the one kind of studio thing where it's like, all right, you can have your heroes slaughter an entire hallway of henchmen. You can have them murdering people the entire 2.5-hour runtime. But when it comes to the bad guy, Rocket cannot pull an Optimus Prime. He cannot just execution style just like pop a cap in his head. Like, no, we can't have it happen. We cannot let you do that. I feel like the initial draft ended a little differently.
Well, and
myself.
the reason I'm bringing up the thing with Star-Lord is Rocket's reasoning in the moment is, he's got his kind of big grand one-liner where he goes, "'Cause I'm a frickin' guardian of the galaxy," and I'm like, so he's gonna replace Star-Lord again. Full spoilers. He's gonna replace Star-Lord at the end. Star-Lord has kind of built this thing. He is the leader. I get that when he kills that guy earlier, he's in this, real upset, heightened place, and he's kind of losing himself. And we know he's got that in him, whether you like the choice from Endgame or not, with, the way he freaks out when, or is it Infinity War, when he freaks out when Gamora dies. But it's I'm a little bit confused about what the movie is telling us about how the members of this team are supposed to behave. Right? Like, at one time it felt like, yeah, we're mostly heroes, but there's a little bit of an anti-hero component. Sometimes we'll go further than, like, maybe a Captain America or an Iron Man typically would. And then in this, you've got that conversation that Peter has earlier with Drax where he's like, we're not killing anybody. And then
what's the difference between, like the hallway, for example, like those people are like coming to kill them. Like, I don't think they have an issue with killing people, but they're not like,
sure,
hey, let's go to this factory and just shoot everybody.
No, but what I'm saying is
like
an unnecessary, almost sadistic kill, which is absolutely what the one with the guy with the bald head is. Do you see what I'm saying? That was not necessary. He didn't have to do that. He jumps out the window with that guy, and right before that, he says, he says, not me, just you. You know what I mean? He's intending for that guy to not make it. He could have pulled him out of the water and tried to save him, but he lets him drown. He's probably already dead before he drowns. But I guess what I'm saying, I'm not being super articulate. I guess what I'm saying is it's a little odd that we've got him going as far as he does with that, and then at the end, Rocket is a true guardian because he doesn't kill his arch nemesis. And somebody, was it Slipmaker? Somebody in the comments said, "But why is it played so heroic?" And that was my problem with it. Is it like I get your logic for it, Austin, but that's not the attitude of the scene. The attitude of the scene isn't, well, he's gonna die anyway, so just leave him. The attitude of the scene is Rocket is a true hero because he doesn't kill his arch nemesis, and that didn't play for me really. That was my issue with it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's fair.
And then Matthew Bass says, I could have done without the Peter death fake out. And that really bugged me first time around. I was slightly more okay with it on a second viewing because, like I said, I kind of came to understand Adam Warlock's part in it a lot more and why he needed kind of that redemptive moment. But that felt like kind of playing pieces around, trying to give everybody an arc before it felt like kind of a natural thing to do. And it still reads a little bit gimmicky to me that we're going to go as far as having Peter's face like nearly implode. And then he gets saved by Adam Warlock and now he's okay. Like, yeah, it is a little, I mean, I've seen way, way worse. It's not Sonic the Hedgehog, but it is that, fake the audience into thinking that you're going to kill off this character thing. Particularly, like, maybe if I had paid attention to none of the advertising, it wouldn't have bothered me quite as much, but we were real jerked around with the lead up to this movie. Like, somebody's probably going to die, and then the big, kind of shocking reveal is nobody died. And I think at the end of the day, I kind of like that nobody dies because it's as, again, dire and melancholy as Connor was describing it, and it doesn't feel cheating, but like all of that really works. It doesn't feel cheating when you get to the end and everybody's okay finally, especially because they've all evolved so much and they're not going to stick together and people are going to go off and do their own thing finally, and there is still something to mourn at the end, I guess, is what I like about that whole thing. But yeah, that moment I have a tough time with. Connor, where were you with that? Were you rolling your eyes like I was first time around?
It felt initially, so I guess my whole thing with Adam Warlock in this is interviews with Gunn, so I don't know what the spiel was, if he was told to do it or if he felt like he had to. But it felt like Warlock was initially maybe the central story element that he had in like his idea for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And then after he gets fired and gets brought on and the story develops and he's kind of bringing it together, I mean, I'd be shocked if I found out that like the way this movie exists was not informed by the drama behind how this movie was made. But it's one of those things where I feel like with each probably draft and each through development, Adam Warlock got further and further on the back burner. And so like there's this whole kind of idea about second chances, and they kind of keep Adam Warlock alive and then they want to give him a second chance, and then he kind of comes to see that, and then so it's like I felt like it felt a little beneath the material that I'm used to Gunn, where oh, my music fell off, gotta go risk my life to get my music because I'm Star-Lord, I'm the music guy. And then you have him do this thing. I think the line didn't look awesome, like that's very Star-Lord, I like that stuff, but in context of like the coda to your climax, it felt a little tacked on and kind of silly. Now, that being said, the whole like Sistine Chapel Adam Warlock coming at the screen with like his finger to like touch Peter's, that made me laugh, admittedly. And I get what it's doing in terms of thematically trying to tie that up, but I did feel like it felt like an extra beat, and that's just something I feel like I have with Gunn a little bit, is he makes movies that are a lot of fun to watch. The party can go on a little long, and that's like a little bit where it's like, all right, we should have maybe left the party 10 minutes ago, but hey, I'm fine with it. I could do without it though.
The audience I saw it with the first time, I heard no fewer than 4 people, all in different parties, walking out complaining about the length. People like a lot of people that I saw it with apparently were not like emotionally engaged, or at least that's kind of what it seemed like. Where it was like, wow, that was just long. Like they didn't seem super invested, and I had more of that on a first watch certainly. But yeah, I want to say that there's maybe 10 or 15 minutes of tightening to do here, and I don't think it's taking out entire scenes, because like I want to say that, but then at the same time I also feel like there's a couple of things missing, and that was another thing that I thought about mentioning for worst thing is and we can get back to, well, let me mention this in a minute. Austin, let me give you an opportunity to respond to that. Where were you on the death fake out thing?
I didn't really have like a feeling either way. Like I'm like, oh, it's fine. I don't know. It's not a big deal to me. I'm not sure how I feel about the big Adam Warlock shot. It's like maybe too silly, but at the same time, I also don't mind. I feel like this is a movie that has a ton of self-indulgences, and I don't really care because he earned them because of what happened behind the scenes, I feel like.
That's fair. Know. So you feel like you're giving him a little bit more leeway on that.
You can have a pass. Yeah, throw that in. Throw in your the first F-bomb in an MCU film. Like, if anybody deserves that, it's you at this point.
Yeah, and I had no problem with that. I appreciated how just kind of natural in the scene it was, and that it was actually funny. I like, however you feel about MCU being, family movies, and should we have that word or whatever, like that's a conversation that we can have, I guess. But what I liked about it was it's kind of a good blueprint for how to integrate profanity in things, particularly comedy, where it's like, yeah, don't overuse it, don't throw it in everywhere. I didn't expect that, and that's why it was funny. And also, going into the movie, I knew it was somewhere, because that's all anybody was talking about. Like, right before I saw it, it was, oh, there's an F-bomb somewhere, and I thought it would be, because I knew it was Star-Lord that says it, and so I expected it would be part of, like, a big speech, and he'd be, like, really angry and freaking out. I figured it would be, like, too High Evolutionary or something. There's a scene toward the end where High Evolutionary, and I loved this, I thought this was really funny, it has his real typical, like, explain his motivation speech, and I love the bit where Star-Lord goes, I don't care! I have to listen to this every movie. There's always this villain that had daddy issues that's got to ramble, like, stop it, I don't care. And I figured someplace like that is where that F-bomb would have been. But no, it's the most random, benign possible place.
Rocket. When Rocket is, he's saying, "All right, and when I kill you, and I will effing kill you." He didn't say that to the Hayabusa.
Yeah, it could have been that. So if it's gonna happen, in these, which at least have the reputation for being comedy first, yeah, that's the way to do that. Mm-hmm. That was pretty great, and it wasn't planned from the beginning. It wasn't scripted. It was a thing Gunn came up with in the moment that he asked for a take for, and they liked it.
Yeah, well, and Feige tried to guilt trip him out of it, which makes it even funnier.
That's interesting because the interview that I saw, maybe Gunn was just being diplomatic, because the interview I saw with Gunn where he talks about that, he said, and maybe he wasn't talking about Feige, but he says, he figured Disney wouldn't let them do it, and he said it was a non-issue. They said nothing about it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard both him and Pratt talk about how Feige came up to Gunn and was like, yeah, you probably don't want to be known as the person that dropped the first F-bomb in a Marvel movie. That's not something you want as your reputation. And Gunn was like, you don't know me, clearly.
Yeah, maybe you do when you're leaving, though. He's not going to make another movie for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. This is a swan song, so he's going out swinging.
And also, with all due respect, Feige, who is a guy that has seemed pretty out of touch lately, I think, just from some statements he's made about where they're going and what's happening right now and how to solve some of their problems. With respect to Feige, Gunn's reputation is not going to be that'll be the 50th thing anybody thinks of when it comes to him in the MCU. His reputation is going to be made the first movie this year and in a while that people are actually on the whole excited about with MCU, while there's a lot of kind of detractors and people sort of done with these movies and talking about how they're kind of done with superhero movies in general. So he's going to be the guy that, I don't want to say this movie will save the MCU or whatever, but on his way out the door, he's putting out one of, if not the most critically acclaimed movie they've had in the last 2 years. And then he's going to go very likely, or at least make the attempt at saving the other company because of the mistake that Disney made in the first place, dropping him so he could go make a movie for the competitors, so that then he could come back, make a movie for them, and then get hired as the guy running the competitors. I still can't get my mind around this situation and how hilarious it is. So yeah, that's going to be his reputation. That's going to be his legacy.
One, I've heard a ton of people be like, well, Adam Warlock's just here so that Gunn can practice Superman.
Yeah, particularly with the way he flies. And it all looks really good.
Oh my God. I love how there are so many shots with Adam Warlock in this film that are just like the updated 2023 versions of the Donner Superman flying. Specifically, there's shots where he's kind of flying like this, and it looks like Superman at the end of that movie when he's in space and stuff like that, and it's so funny. I love it.
Yeah, actually, so a couple of things visually that I think are really cool here. One, that first fight with Adam Warlock was kind of a wake-up call for me, where I was like, oh, it's been a minute since I feel like I watched a Marvel movie that looked and felt like a comic book.
Oh, see, that's not what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say, it's been a while since I watched an MCU movie that made me feel something. That's what I thought you were going to say.
No, it was really good. Visually, it's very, obviously they're using a lot of the same technology that the other filmmakers are using, but it felt much more tasteful in the way it integrated special effects and the volume sets but they are building stuff. It's really cool makeup. Yeah. They didn't. I thought Nowhere was a volume set.
No, I saw a thing with Gunn talk about it where he said he can't use volume because he moves the camera too much, and you can't do that with volume.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and the camera that he used for The Suicide Squad, he's clearly fallen in love with, because it doesn't look like Guillermo del Toro, but he uses a lot of the same principles, which is a digital camera with a wide lens. And in this one, we do a little bit of the Christopher Nolan style, aspect ratio shifting. And like, so
Jason
he's
kept looking at me and
with,
going, "Why are we doing that? Why do we keep changing the aspect ratio?"
well, and it's interesting because it's like in the Suicide Squad, he uses the tall aspect ratio, and that's what Guillermo del Toro likes using too. Um, and then it's like in the Guardians Holiday Special, it's in 16 by 9, which I'm glad they did that. And then with this, he's like kind of, he doesn't want to just stay with the scope aspect ratio. He wants to like open that thing up. So I just think it's kind of cool that he's found a visual flair that he likes. And I feel like with this, it was like, okay, I feel like it's a Marvel thing, so I'm like, I have to do like the scope, like kind of, really wide, but I'm going to open up that frame whenever I can. So yeah, like you said, Austin, a film of 1,000 indulgences, and a lot of them I liked. So yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, a lot of it actually does work in the movie's favor, where it's like, it's sort of like winning somebody over on a genre they're not into. It's like, okay, this is the genre is James Gunn, but like, yeah, you're kind of winning. There are places where it is too self-indulgent, but for the most part, he kind of gets me there. Now, I don't know if I would have that if I hadn't seen some of his other movies. I actually felt like I needed more than just Guardians from him to really appreciate this, even though it took me 2 viewings, because I guess that's just me with Gunn. Like, I don't think I will ever talk about a Gunn movie again until I've seen it at least twice. Like with people, because every time the conversation is just gonna be like, I don't know about this, and then now I understand. That's me with Gunn. But I think the aspect ratio changing and the way he's the camera he's using, Connor, might speak a little bit to the kind of tone thing you were talking about earlier that you can't define. Like that's wrapped up in all of that, right? Is that like this movie has a distinct tone that I can't give a name to, and that's part of why it has that.
That opening bit on Nowhere, where it's like this long tracking shot, and it's like it's so wide, like it's almost like fish lensing at the edges as you're like following a rocket, and like it's playing the acoustic version of Creep, and it's like this is so cool. I like this.
I love the contrast to that versus the beginning of the other 2 movies, and we keep saying melancholy, but like you didn't really expect one of these to open that way. It absolutely needs to do that. Like imagine that it was, and especially contrasting it to the holiday special. Imagine that it has another like fun, bouncy, uproarious sort of opening, and then 10 minutes later you have the blasting in of Adam Warlock and destroying everything. That would almost be like too anachronistic. Like that might have felt like he was messing with us too much. But it also, just like the other 2 movies, kind of sets the thematic stage for everything. You've got like a real lonely guy in the first movie with a really fun opening, but one that come and get your love. One that's like trying to figure out how how he can even be happy. Doesn't realize he needs a family. That's what he ultimately finds when what he's really after in the first place is just an object that he thinks will do it for him, at least temporarily. And the second movie, all the family ideas, with setting the stage for the role that each of the family members has in the super cool, fun opening sequence. That's what that does. And then this third movie, it's everything that High Evolutionary is after versus Rocket's Insecurities is in the song lyrics of Creep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it like kind of goes back and forth depending on the verse. It's really interesting.
And in some ways, I think it's maybe my favorite opening now, or at least right now, because I'm so impressed with it.
Yeah, no, I have a hard.
It's kind of hard to pick one, especially because I love the Christmas special one so much too.
Yeah, no, it's like just like it was one of those things where like I've had Creep and Dog Days stuck in my head for over a week now. It just kind of alternates between the 2.
Yeah.
And I just like think about the lyrics. I'm like, oh wow, like I want a perfect body. Like that's not necessarily Rocket, but like he was engineered by the High Evolutionary who does. And then like I want you to notice when I'm not around. that's Rocket, you know, like it's really cool.
Well, he sort of does
I
because he
like
has
that.
these massive insecurities about who he is and what he looks like because his maker wanted to kill him over it. So when he's constantly screaming like I'm not a raccoon and he doesn't like it when people make fun of what he looks like he's got body issues.
Well, and with that
Yeah.
specific line, because it's what is it? It's I want to have control. I want you to hurt. I want a perfect body. That's high evolutionary.
Sure. Well, that's yeah. When you take it
Like
all
it
in
kind of,
that context.
yeah, no, it kind of goes back and forth. It's really interesting.
But then the fact, I can't help but read a little bit in it, though, Austin, when he's singing it along with the song.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like when Rocket himself is singing that line, I can't take it just from High Evolutionary.
Yeah. But I was also
and that's a choice I really appreciated too.
Because
that,
I'm also like mumbling it under her breath. So I had it like from both ways. I was like, oh.
Real quick, can I do a side rant?
Yes.
Okay. When you go see a movie, I'm the soapbox for a second.
If that's where you're going, we weren't around people. Like it wasn't like taking away from like.
That's cool, and this is not me dogging on your mom because I didn't see the movie with your mom, but I did see the movie with a couple of other people that felt the need to sing every friggin' lyric of every song while I'm trying to watch the movie, and I wanted to say something so bad. That was driving me crazy. You're not at a concert. That's my rant. Is if you go to a theater and you see a movie that's got songs you like and know, and you have the urge to sway back and forth and sing along, just remember it's not a concert. It's a movie.
Look, it's really weird when people start cracking out lighters like that. That's where it gets really weird.
Look, you're watching a raccoon on a screen singing this.
Well, no, Mantis is like, dance with me, Drax, and people are like, yeah.
Cap, did I ever tell you the time I went to go see Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and there were these two old ladies with this small child, and so much of that movie is just ape culture where they're signing, and these old ladies were reading aloud every single subtitle of that movie to this stupid kid, and he was not even listening. Oh my god! And it's like it's one of the things where it's like the old person murmur where it's like they're hard of hearing, so they don't know how loud they are. And it's like, oh my god! Like I
but like you're in a loud theater,
this.
so they're talking way louder than they think they are. That sucks.
Yeah, but it was rough.
Can we just have like a rule to ban stupid children from movies?
Oh my god, this kid like got up and started like swinging on like the railing and then running back and forth on the aisle and like jumping on the chairs that weren't occupied. It's like, and then the ladies like starts like reading the subtitles like, dude, your kid's not even around here anymore. Shut up! Like one of the worst. One of the worst.
I took my dad to see. I took my dad to see Infinity War for his birthday, and there was like a kid's birthday party in front of us. And during the credits, while we were waiting for the after credits scene, they TV'd the theater. Because they like brought out all this caution tape to like block out off where they were gonna sit, right? So there was just like caution tape everywhere, and the kids like grabbed it and started like TVing the entire auditorium with it.
Yes. Okay, look, I don't want to compete in the like crappy theater experience Olympics or anything. I think Connor, yours beats what I had yesterday, but that was still terrible.
Terrible. I would turn around like, shut up. Like, it's cool that you know the songs. Like, I didn't pay for your commentary. Shut up.
The only reason I didn't say anything is because I had Mikey there with me. Because if I got in like a situation or something where they decided to, you know, because you never know with people, they might freak out on you or something.
You made the right decision.
Yeah.
You made the right decision.
No, I know,
yeah.
But it was anyway. That was just a quick side rant. Hey, I will finally get the super chats, but before I do that, I just wanted to cap off or discussion about the fake out death thing, because I have one more thing to say about that, which is Austin, I disagree with the thing that I suggested to you the other day now, that like I'm not with myself on it anymore after seeing it a second time, because I said to Austin the other day, maybe Star-Lord should have actually been allowed to die there because it would be a good kind of echo parallel thing with what happens with Yondu at the end of the second movie in spurring on Rocket, because in some ways Star-Lord is kind of his father figure, the way Yondu was, and it wouldn't actually work if that happened. I think now that I've seen it again, because first of all, it would have looked like too much of a double beat. I don't think you want to do that 2 movies in a row, but even more than that, Star-Lord had something to learn from Yondu's death, which was that Yondu was his father. That was even a thing he didn't fully appreciate. Just the fundamental idea that my real father is Yondu. He needed him to die to get that. That is not something that Rocket needed. Like, Rocket doesn't actually need Peter to die in order for him to be able to continue on with his life. It isn't, like, the movie's not about loss in family so much as it's about like that second one was. That second one was about every aspect of being in a family, right? Yondu was in a weird way almost like the grandfather who dies. I mean, just for the family overall, right? With this movie, by the end of it anyway, it's about the family that at least some of them have to move on. So like, we're all still family, but we're not going to live together forever. We're not going to always be in this group doing things together. We've got to go and live our individual lives. And you've got the characters like Mantis, who have basically been children and have to grow up and leave the nest. And then
Just
you've
going off
got
to college.
yeah, and then you've got characters. Yeah, you said that the other day. I thought that was apt. Yeah, basically going on, or more like going on, like I don't know, like a trip to what?
It was kind of did like a thing. It was funny.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
Right.
wasn't looking at. God, I didn't know you
I'm
were laughing.
going to college.
I'm going to college.
Yeah.
But I was just gonna say, almost like the find yourself quest going to other countries. You know what I mean? Like, and I guess that's also sometimes part of the college experience, but it's more that kind of thing where it's like she's just lived for other people. She's got to go figure out who she is, and then Star-Lord ends up being like the like father figure who has to retire finally. Like he's been doing it long enough. It's time for him to retire. Which is actually, now that I'm thinking about it, really great given the "I'm not 50" speech. I love that. It's like, no, you're actually 65 in this analogy.
No, and Nebula's like that weird aunt that like has fallen onto hard times and lives with you for like a year until she gets back on her feet.
Yeah, but she actually kind of becomes the mother at the end. She's taken Gamora's place entirely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Which is foreshadowed by the fact that Peter momentarily is maybe attracted to her. Although I'm glad we didn't go all the way with that. I'm glad we didn't do anything with it. I think that because I saw that moment in the trailer and I was like, is that gonna be a whole subplot? I really appreciated that we just put a pin in it, and that could have happened, but it didn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know, I guess it's just
Speaking of Gamora,
sorry.
I really like the choices of make her a Ravager. Like that's felt like such an intuitive, natural progression for that version of the character that I never would have been able to guess.
Yeah, I feel like,
like
Gamora in this movie is like they put a chain around Gunn's leg and they were like, "Here you go, you're stuck with this," and he was like, "Yeah, well, here's the key," and just unlocked it and was like, "No, this is how you do it."
But I could read the frustration in the story that he had to do that.
Absolutely, but I think he handles it kind of perfectly, and I like her ending that she still ultimately gets the family she was looking for.
Well, it's weird, some of the parallels you can make, particularly just in the filmmaking, between this and the Suicide Squad, because they come out of the same situation, both in that Gunn got fired and had to go do something else. And so, I'd love to see the alternate universe version of this movie that came out like 3 years ago or whatever, when he wasn't impeded by any of that, and if that's a stronger or a not as good movie. But also in that he's coming into a franchise that's been done by somebody else or messed with by somebody else. And it's almost tragic in its way that happened with his own franchise. That like he comes back to it and now he's stuck with some things that he didn't like, that he wouldn't have done if it was him. Like he was like intimately involved in Infinity War, but then Endgame he didn't have anything to do with.
Yeah, he didn't really do anything for Thor. Not that they're like in it a lot, but like
no, but he's gone on record to say that the Gamora death is not how he would handle that, and that Star-Lord would not have freaked out the way he did.
Yeah, no, exactly.
He doesn't like that choice.
Well, with Infinity War, he just kind of stepped in and rewrote dialogue. Like, I don't think he had any choices in terms of like structure.
Yeah,
like,
I keep forgetting what happens in what movie. I guess some of the things that he's stuck with are actually in that movie, aren't they?
Yeah, no, they're in Infinity War.
Okay.
But he just touched up dialogue. So
okay,
like,
so not intimately involved, just there. I love now that you say it. There's an interview where he goes, "I was a producer on that movie."
Yeah, if the line "kick names, take ass" isn't James Gunn, I would be shocked.
well, and the big one is
the funniest line in that movie.
the big one is the you just made up that name. All names are made up, because he reuses that joke in the Suicide Squad.
It's better in the Suicide Squad.
Or like
so all names are letters.
All names are letters.
it was like, oh yeah, well if I'm stupid, I'm 50% human, so that 50% of me that's stupid is 100% of you. Like that's very James Gunn.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, there's like little bits of dialogue where you can tell that he wrote that.
But yeah, so what I was going to say is there's a little bit of the Harley Quinn issue with a couple of things with this movie, where it's like he's got mandates, he's got characters that he's stuck with that he wouldn't necessarily put in the movie, or he would have probably introduced or invented differently than what he's having to do with them here. I guess I'm comparing. This is weird. I guess I'm comparing Harley Quinn to Gamora, where he had his Gamora, and she's been taken away from him, and now he's got this other version of her that's missing, a lot of years and came from the past, and he would have never done that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And so he does the best that he can with it, and arguably maybe even handles it better than what he does with Harley Quinn. But I don't know what you do with that Harley Quinn.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that when we do that commentary. She's got some great scenes. I think she's fun, but he clearly doesn't have a lot to say with her compared to some other characters with that movie.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I feel like he does a really good job with Gamora. Again,
I've got nothing to say about that. We'll talk about that next week. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just like I think he did a really good job with that.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead and talk about Gamora. I'm stuck on Harley Quinn now.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying with Gamora. Like I threw my point out already. I'm just saying, he handled it good.
The most impressive thing with her, I think, is the performance, because she feels like a totally different character.
No, it is cool.
But then you've got these wonderful nuances
where
she's got these wonderful nuances where she is the same character. Because obviously if she goes through any of those same experiences, there's the potential for us to see glimpses of it, and Saldana plays that brilliantly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, and I like that she's a little bit more hardened too, because instead of getting with the Guardians, she got with the Ravagers, so it like kind of doubled down on some of that stuff.
Yeah, for anybody that missed it, that's a good point you made, that she's flipped with Nebula.
It's like, that actress has really proven herself to be like a really good actress, I think, in the last several years.
I keep saying that.
I felt like, just put her in like a franchise. I'm like, I mean, I don't think she's bad, but I don't understand why she's always in these big movies. And I don't know, I've really like seen the quality of her that I think a lot of casting agents see. And so like, I want to see her, do more stuff. I mean, she's in all these billion-dollar movies now, but like, I don't know. She says that she wants to go and do smaller stuff, I think, and I'd like to see that.
I would too.
Yeah,
she's got a lot of range, and I didn't say that 10 years ago. Like, I've said this before, but I used to really dislike her, and I've turned completely around on her. I thought she gave like an almost Oscar-winning sort of performance in Infinity War, and then suddenly I was like, "Oh, okay, I didn't see any of this before." And so then I go into this movie, kind of bummed out that we're gonna have to deal with the almost sitcom situation of. Or kind of irritating CW like sci-fi kind of situation of, oh, you're in love but one of them doesn't remember it, so the other one is opining for that and is trying to get her into him again, and it's handled with as much what's the word I'm looking for? It's as mature as it can be about it. But then also she's just doing something totally different. She's got a facial expression that character never had before.
Yeah. No,
she'll just be like, she does this thing with her. It's almost like Stallone thing with her face when she gets irritated that she never did before.
No, I think Gunn does a really good job with Quill in terms of making it about like having to like falling out of love and kind of like moving away from somebody you used to be with, and that kind of like bad breakup thing. Oh, is Connor gone?
His face has disappeared. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if he can hear us.
I had zoomed in on just both of you, so suddenly I was there, and I was like, "Oh, I
yeah,
guess
no, he has disappeared."
Oh, okay.
Well, let's go ahead and start getting to some of these super chats, and if there are other aspects of the movie we haven't talked about yet that you really would like us to, feel free to start leaving more comments. Fidelio999 says, and I think he left this before we started, incredible how this simultaneously is the funniest and most emotional film in the MCU, while never allowing the humor to undercut the drama. I've never been big on the MCU, but this is my favorite one. And there's a couple of scenes where the humor undercuts the drama in that like really intentional way, and that's just going to be a taste issue for people, like whether they're okay with that. But like the second movie started doing more of that, and this is kind of going along with that. And I don't think the issue is the Guardians movies as much as, well, I mean I still say it gets in the way a little bit in two, but so much as other movies in the MCU have taken that now as like the brand, and they're just not as good at it.
I do think that this is more tonally consistent than the first two. Just off on two viewings, because I have a little bit of humor issue with two, especially the first act, and there's like a little bit in the first one, but not a ton. But I feel like the humor's really toned down in this movie.
Yeah, but then I think to make up for it, there's a couple of scenes that feel a little bit like this is the funny scene. And the first movie doesn't have that at all, which is why I still say it's the most tonally consistent of the three.
I don't know.
And I'll fight you all day on it, but...
Yeah, it's fine.
What were you going to say?
You're wrong. No, I feel like this one does a really good job of balancing that, and I don't feel like there's any real dramatic moment where it's like, okay, boom, stop. Like, for example, okay, I heard somebody say that they should have added a joke. You know, in that scene where,
sorry,
like,
Connor, you good? You keep dropping
getting
in and out,
text messages, right? And
what's that?
I can hear you guys. Yeah, I think I keep getting text messages, and then like that's cutting out my like.
Oh, okay, cool,
video
sweet.
feed.
I just wanted to make sure you were still with us because your picture keeps dropping out. Sorry, sorry, Austin. Go ahead. You had an example of things of trauma not being intercut.
Oh yeah, okay. You know that big dramatic moment where they finally all walk together before that, maybe like the best action scene in any comic book movie, where they open up the hallway.
It's freaking nuts. We have to talk about that.
It's so good. But I heard somebody say like, oh, they should have had like a repeat of the Drax and Mantis, like, should we run or fight moment, where Drax should close the door and be like, maybe we should run, and Mantis is like, no, fight. And I'm like, no. No, just do the moment. Like, that's stupid. So like, I don't know. I think it's really cool because in the first movie you have like the big slow-mo song while they're walking, and Rocket's like awkwardly grabbing himself in that scene. And then in 2 you have it where they're splitting up. And then here finally you just have like, boom, it is like Guardians. There's like, they're just walking cool together. Like, we finally got that like moment where they're just like fully realized as a team, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they kind of do 3 of them in this in a way, and I think that's intentional.
Yeah.
where there's the one right at the beginning where everybody's kind of just broken and falling apart, and then they've got the one where they're really solidified and pulling themselves back together, but Gamora's there, and that's weird for everybody, right? And then if I can stretch a little bit, you've got one more in the mid credits, but it's not the walking; it's the jumping at the screen thing. But like that's to establish the family continues with a new generation.
That's riding off into the sunset. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I also have to say, but it's still slow motion. The team altogether, like it's kind of in that category.
No, I agree with you. Yeah.
The thing I was most impressed with that, by the way, just if I can tack this point on real quick, is I would actually watch a movie about that team.
Yeah, I feel like Gunn, like with that specifically, I think he does a really good job of ending it where I don't need more from any of these characters.
No, I don't either.
With the exception of Adam Warlock, but that's only because everybody's ending except for him when he's just being set up. So I think that's part of why he's maybe a little awkward in this movie, is because like everybody's wrapping up and then he's just being introduced, and he is very much at like point one of his character arc of everything. So like you got that.
Well, and that's kind of sad because it's like I don't know if the MCU is going to do anything else with him, and Gunn's not going to be there to work on it, so you don't know if it'll be any good. And that's not to say that somebody couldn't come in and do something, cool with him, or do a good, like, singular Star-Lord movie, like they're talking about maybe doing, and that sort of thing. But I don't trust it at this point because the MCU is so rocky creatively right now.
No, exactly. I feel like he does a really good job in making me feel like I don't need anything more. But like, if we get it and it's good, like that's cool. I would watch that other Guardians team.
Yeah, that's why I was impressed with it. Like, I don't have to see that movie, but I hate that feeling of this is a really lame group of people. Like, I'm glad they're not making any more with that. I didn't have that. Like,
yeah, I was thinking of like Age of Ultron, where the end of that movie is like, here's the new Avengers team, and it's kind of all like the B team.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have that with this Guardians team, and we get
like they are the B team, but I think the fact that some of it is just that Rocket and Groot are still there.
We get like Jack Kirby Groot, where he's giant. Yeah, and it's awesome.
that was cool, and that was a nice callback to the kaiju thing earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And they got me with the he seems to be a rocket, but he's not a rock thing. Where it's like, Groot, get up, and say Groot's there. Like, that's pretty great. That's especially fun because you don't necessarily assume Groot will be there, but it's good that he is, because then you'd be like, oh yeah, where did Groot go? Like, is he staying back at the on Nowhere, or what exactly is happening with that? But like, it also helps that Kraglin and Cosmo were established, so they're like transition intermediary characters between it. And then Philo we just met, and she's probably the least of them, just in that she's just some person they found. I don't know what she'd be like. But also, what's weird about it? That is an extremely OP team. Like, if you did do a movie with that,
have her quasar powers.
What do you go up against that you can't beat? You've got telekinesis and everything that Adam Warlock does.
Well, they'll do Annihilation next. That'll be the first not Gunn movie.
Oh, good.
Exactly. It'll be super exciting. But
didn't you say Annihilus was originally supposed to be the villain of this?
Yeah, that blew my mind. I saw a tweet Gunn put out where he was like, Annihilus was originally the main villain of this movie, and that's like a completely different movie. I don't know what that looks like. So like, I want to see that draft.
Because one of the reasons... Well, and I wonder at what stage that was the case, because the main reason that he decided to come back, because apparently he was actually on the fence when they offered it back to him. Initially, he was like, after everything that happened, I don't know if I want to come back. He said the two main reasons that he did come back, I saw this in an interview today. I did half an hour research before the show. He said, I felt like I owed it to the cast for in crew for sticking with me, and like they didn't want to make another one unless he came back. So that was a big part of it. But also he said I had this story to finally wrap up with Rocket. Like his story's not done. He said I don't want these movies to end with Rocket's looking up at the Yondu arrow in the sky, and there's clearly something like really going on in his face, and then you never find out what that is. So if Annihilus was supposed to be the villain of this movie originally, how does the Rocket story get told? What even is that?
He did say that Annihilus then would be the creator of Rocket, but
Oh, okay. I wondered about that.
yeah, but that's weird. I don't know.
I like this better. I mean, we didn't. I can't say that because we didn't see what the Annihilus thing would be, but just on paper,
It makes more sense on paper.
yeah, because he's genetic engineering guy trying to, in his mind, perfect the universe. If I knew my Marvel better, I would have assumed he was made by the High Evolutionary, but I hadn't read anything with him until last week when you and I did a thing with him. We did his first appearance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was very weird.
Speaking of that, I have a question.
Yeah.
This was preoccupying me while I saw this the second time, and I realized that I had an issue with it the first time around too, but I hadn't, I hadn't put it into words, I hadn't articulated it. Just something was kind of eating at me, and that is, I don't fully get, and maybe I missed something, and I was hoping that I did, and you guys could tell me what it was, but I've seen it twice and I couldn't find it. What is the actual inciting incident for this story? What I mean is, High Evolutionary is after Rocket because he wants his brain. Because Rocket knows things and is smarter than High Evolutionary thinks he should be, and he ostensibly wants to take that trait and put it in his newly perfected beings, but what it really is, it seems like, is he doesn't like that anybody that he makes is smarter than he is, and he can't deal with that. So it's this interesting kind of conflicted thing with your villain where he says he wants this, but he really wants this much scarier thing, right? So I don't know how he found out where Rocket was.
I think just through the Sovereign. It was my thought with it the second time.
Okay, so that's a big why now question. That's a little too easy, because the Sovereign have known about the Guardians and Rocket for years at this point. And did it just come up in conversation? Was it because High Evolutionary gets really angry with her for with Alicia? Is that her name? No, not Alicia.
Aisha.
Aisha, pardon me. And I should be able to remember. That's a Power Ranger too. I should be able to remember that. He's angry with Aisha because, and I think he actually says that, right?
That they knew about it.
You knew about him for years. You never told me. Why has she now told him? How did it come up?
Yeah,
I don't understand that.
Maybe it has something to do with Adam Warlock, and because they also say that High Evolutionary opened his cocoon early, and that's why he's still a child. So maybe that. I'm not entirely sure, though.
I don't know how that would connect.
Like maybe he would walk in and be like, what is this big big thing you're crafting? Because it wasn't just like a regular Sovereign. It was like a whole thing with that.
Right. Yeah.
Like maybe he was like, what is this about? And they're like, well, we're gonna go kill these people.
Well, yeah, I thought that was the idea, is that he cracked it early so that Adam Warlock could go get Rocket. But I just don't get why they just now told him where he is. And I had the same thing that I did with Ego with the second movie, where I get that it's the galaxy and it's kind of big, but it can't have been that difficult to find these people. Like, I had that with Ego with the second movie, too, where I'm like, how'd you never run into anybody talking about Star-Lord all this time? How'd you never find this guy? And I kind of have that with this, too. It's like, you've been looking for him this whole time? And also, why wouldn't you tell the Sovereign, if a talking raccoon ever shows up, I want to know about it? Like, did they have that conversation? Did she have some reason not to tell him? All of that was real up in the air and confusing to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure. With Ego, I think it's just because nobody knows who Star-Lord is, and he wouldn't know offhand that's who his son is.
Well, that's true. But he also has a lot of resources.
I'm not sure yet.
Not that we have to go back to that whole thing again, because you and I have talked about this, but...
About what, sorry?
Oh, just about the fact that Ego is, like, has all these resources, and he's a living planet. And I just feel like eventually he could figure it out on his own. It wouldn't take that long.
I don't know. He's just living on a planet with a weird bug lady.
I just feel like in both of these cases, Gunn is struggling a little bit to get his uh, to get the narrative rolling right now. It has to happen now because now is the time the movie is being made. This is where it's going to set within the MCU, and this time in particular, I'm not super convinced with why it starts now.
Well, there's just not a lot of preamble. Like it's just we have that big surprise where boom, now here's Adam Warlock. So we don't really have like the kind of inciting stuff with High Evolutionary, and it maybe could have been or not maybe, but it could have been explained better.
Yeah, I think you need that. I also feel like there's got to be stuff left on the cutting room floor regarding High Evolutionary's background and how he got to the place he got to, because there's a part of me that likes how much of a mystery he is, and yet I'm really wanting for a morsel of something. There's something mentioned like in the middle where he's taking treatments, and I don't know what that's about. Like, is part of the reason that he's trying to build the quote-unquote perfect society, does it have something to do with like something he's not telling any of his minions about, where like he's trying to keep himself alive or something? Like, that's probably not what it is, but I didn't know what that line was about. I
think it's because
or is it his face?
Well, it's not his face yet at that point, but I think because where's the treatment line again? That's in the flashback, I think.
That's
right?
what I can't. Oh, is it in the flashback? Okay, maybe.
I can't remember.
I couldn't remember where it was. Yeah.
But I'm not sure. But I think it's probably just whatever work that he's doing on himself, because even in the flashbacks, he's still doing work on himself.
Okay.
But if it's in the future, or in the present, then it's probably because of stuff like his face. I don't know.
Connor, did you want him more developed and fleshed out? Like I don't mean to say that I need him to be sympathetic, like, you know, likable or even necessarily has like a full on point, but I don't know. What do you think, Connor?
That I a bit of like a Ronan the Accuser 2.0, where I think Ronan the Accuser sucks. Like, I really don't like that villain at all. But I really like Ego. But Ego is much more of like this character who has like the very dynamic. I think there's a lot of stuff that's very involved, and like I get that from him. What I do like about High Evolutionary is that, it's sort of like if Ronan the Accuser sort of had the more thematic interest that someone like Ego did, where I like, considering how many characters and how involved like this story gets. I don't want a villain that is maybe more complicated than High Evolutionary, and I think thematically what he represents is where he's getting a lot of his legwork in. I thought like for the story they told, like he was kind of the right villain to go with, and I like the actor a lot.
Yeah, I like how just downright evil he is, and he's got like some really good lines in places. Like I really like his line about how there's no God, and then I also really like in a Guardians movie that he breaks down what he's doing in terms of music, where they're listening to opera, and Rocket asks if they like that, and he's like, well, music is taking all of these different things around us and like perfecting them into one thing, and I thought that was really cool.
Him being just a bastard is like so. It's something that could be wrong, and I know you're gonna really disagree with me on this, Austin. But like, I think Peacemaker is like just a terrible show, but largely because I think the villains suck and the characters all suck and all that. But what I like about this is that like you get the villain who is like what they make him do could be seen as pressing the easy button. Like when you have like a scene that is, I can't believe I was in a packed theater and there weren't like teenagers thinking they're cooler than the movie and laughing. Where like Rocket just starts like crying, and not like crying like ugly crying, like wailing. He's like
Mhm.
yelling, and it's like this flat shot of him just standing looking at his dead friend, and it's heartbreaking. And then he just starts mocking him and crying back at him, and that kind of um, writing for like a evil bad guy is the kind of thing that I saw in Peacemaker that I really did not respond to. And here I really did respond to it. And there is, it's more than just being a detestable, like, what's the worst thing I can make a villain do? There is more to it because, like you're saying, like, him talking about opera and kind of like where he, like what his philosophy is, and like, there's no God. Like there are these clues to who he is, and I think a lot of it does kind of come through in the performance. I like
Yeah.
how the High Evolutionary. I mean, he looks like RoboCop. They mentioned that where like he has these ticks where like he isn't perfect himself, but he wants to give off the vibe that he is, and he just has like this face over his actual face, and there's weird ticks where he looks like he's in pain all the time. I don't know, like there is like this kind of cruelty aspect to him that I think, I don't know, for the story they told, it's the best avenue I think they could have gone.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool thing with taking the Sovereign from 2 and linking them up with the High Evolutionary, because their whole thing in 2 is that, like, look at this, like, perfect golden society, and then they're all, like, completely flawed and, like, losers.
And they can't see it. And he
Mhm.
has
Yeah,
that too, and
exactly.
sees himself as they're better.
Yeah, it's almost like in 2 you're seeing uh like the High Evolutionary right there. Like we're building that already.
And
It's really cool.
they're like that because of his influence too.
Yeah,
He's like a
exactly.
real crappy father, but like intentionally
When
so
you
because
get
he
to
doesn't
the
think of himself that way. Like they're just pieces on his game board that he's made.
Mhm.
they built the Guardians, or I guess the way James Gunn has built, like kind of the Guardians galaxy, it's really cool that you can do that thing where you link up the Sovereign, kind of bring that back into what you're doing with this, and it doesn't feel like you're making the universe smaller. Like when you get to the end of it, you kind of see the Ravagers, you see Nowhere, you see the Guardians all going their separate ways, and it feels like is a developed corner of the Marvel universe. And even if you just link two things up, anyways.
Sorry, Connor, you're cutting in and out a little bit. It's just your audio. But that is a good point that he makes, and we're linking in plenty from the first movie too, with bringing Nowhere back, and we've had between the three movies like plenty of mentions of like the Nova Corps and like all of that stuff, and yeah, you don't want it to feel too small because it's the galaxy, but then at the same time, it is a corner of it because you're not supposed to do too many jumps and all of that. Although I guess at the end of the day, if you make too many jumps, you'll be okay. You just will have really funky things happen to your face for a while.
Yeah. Well, even I was thinking about this last night. I hadn't thought about it at all. But just like from like a thematic point, I think it's really interesting that the first scene in the first movie is Star-Lord, meeting his mom, and our introduction, sorry, to him is her saying like, "Oh, you have a black eye. Like, what happened?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got into a fight with the other boys because they were torturing an animal." And I think it's really interesting that
Oh
that's
wow, yeah,
where the series starts, and then this is the movie that we end on.
yeah. I didn't think of that. I forgot about
That's
that whole
really
thing.
cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, and I think the first time I saw this, I was questioning a little bit whether this was really the most natural, like working our way backwards, the most like retroactively the most natural backstory for Rocket. And then I remembered, like watching it a second time, I kept just flashing back to all the places where Rocket cares about animals more than he cares about people.
Yeah, and
And I
I
went,
think
oh yeah,
there's
we've been on this road the whole way.
and there's maybe something about, I don't know what it is yet, but there's maybe something here with his obsession with taking people's prosthetic limbs.
Yeah.
But I don't know exactly what it is. But like there's something there.
Maybe it's because and I don't know, this could have been fleshed out more. It might have been neat if there was like a scene about it in the flashbacks, because it might have been not because of things that happened to him so much as his other friends, because you had a lot of like prosthetic limbs added, and like the the one with wheels, and you've got animals with like arms taken off, and they've got robot parts put on. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know what exactly it is, but there's a connection there.
Yeah, I feel like it's either there's like a comfort that he gets from having that because of like his friends, or it's he sees humans with prosthetics like that, like the High Evolutionary. So there's like a part of him that's like, I want to take that away from you, and I don't know what it is, but I need to think about that more.
Yeah, because it's always comedy. It's like the sadistic. It's funny to him. It's not revenge, or maybe it's comedic revenge. But yeah, what exactly is that?
Yeah, like I feel like there's definitely something there, but I don't know what it is yet.
When I said earlier that I don't need a villain like High Evolutionary to really have a point, what I mean is he is the kind of villain that is just twisted and out of touch, right? So he thinks that he either thinks that what he's doing is like the best thing for the universe, as he says, is good for mankind, or he's convinced himself, but he's really doing it for a different reason. He's really just a crazy narcissist that is needing to control everything. He's got a lot in common with Ego, but it's not exactly the same thing. And I also like that all three of these villains have, between the three movies, have clear parallels, where you've got your religious zealot who is trying to get back at people because they tried to steal his culture, so he's trying to ruin their cultures, right? And then you have a full-on god with Ego, who is lonely and wants to get back to the universe for making him feel that way. So ironically, he wants to make himself completely alone by turning everybody else into him, and everything else into him. And then the third movie is a would-be god who wants to who ostensibly wants to make the world perfect, but as Rocket says, and this was in the trailers, and I wish it hadn't been because it's too late in the movie, and I wish we hadn't been given it. The whole line of you didn't want to make things perfect, you just don't like things the way they are. The only problem I've got with it is I understood why those other two characters felt that way, and I don't really know where he came from, and I don't need a ton. And like I said, I'm conflicted because I like that it's mysterious, but I think maybe it's a little too mysterious. I almost need like a Magneto thing, where, because Magneto sort of in the X-Men movie sort of has this too, where he claims he wants one thing, but it's actually more sadistic than that. It's actually revenge. We understand, even if we don't condone it, how he gets to that place because we saw him as a kid in Auschwitz. I need the Auschwitz scene with this guy, I think is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I can understand that. And I think it works for me the way it is, but I'm not sure. Like, I maybe need like another rewatch to nail that.
I don't know if I would have that as much if this was separate, if it was its own thing, but like it compares so well to the other villains. Like, he's clearly doing something with the three movies as a piece, with not just the arcs that all the characters are on through the three movies, because they do evolve and grow, and they're separate movies with separate stories, but there is an overarching thing happening. But thematically, at least, that's also happening with the villains a little bit too. And Austin, I'm just really suspicious that that was a scene and they cut it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if there's more there. Watch, there's gonna be like the Suicide Squad thing where there's like a 15-minute whole sequence that's just like cut out of the middle.
He doesn't have to be Thanos. It doesn't have, and of course, you know how I feel about MCU Thanos. It doesn't have to be. This is a guy who maybe actually has a real philosophy. He's just too extreme in it. But I want a villain like this to be sympathetic in the sense that I get how he got there, because he wasn't born this way.
Yeah, I think just in the piece, the main thing I like with the High Evolutionary is that just like a bastard through the entire film. And I think all of Gunn's villains, with the exception of Starro, are kind of like that. Like, Ego's charismatic, but he's not sympathetic, I don't think.
Yeah, Starro is completely sympathetic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like kind of the one exception. But then at the same time,
But
like
Ego, at least,
Waller,
again, I get why he feels lonely. He's got a clear motivation.
No, of course. No, what I was going to say with that is just that the main thing I like with High Evolutionary is just that, like, he's like that through the entire thing, and the entire movie is just like, look how much this guy sucks. Like, don't you hate him? And then, like, I just really like the payoff of that. But you're right. Like, we could use more development for him.
Yeah, just so you buy that he even got that way is all. This is just kind of writing 101
Yeah.
stuff, I guess. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
when he it just makes it feel a little bit incomplete. Let me ask you this: when he says he needs, because at the end all of his minions turn on him. That's a cool camera move, by the way, where it's spinning around and everybody's pulling guns on him. His minions are all turning on him because he's gotten too obsessed with this one thing and he's going to tear everything down that he's built over it. And he says he needs to know how Rocket's brain works so that he can build that into everybody or the next batch that he makes. I think he's lying. And I don't know if I'm right about it. I don't think that's it at all. I think there's a lot of evidence to support that what it really is, again, is that he wants to see himself as God, and if he built something that could figure out something that he couldn't, that makes him like less of a god. So I kind of think he just wants to stamp it out. Like, he'll study it, sure, but then I don't think he's going to actually try to improve anything. But I don't know if I'm right about it because I don't feel like I know enough about him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I've been very preoccupied about this villain. And I kind of wish that we were. I mean, it ends the way it ends, but after seeing him and finding him compelling, I kind of wish that was the big villain that we were building more of the MCU around, and not Kang.
Well, I've seen a lot of people be like, let's just pretend, like, let's just retroactively say he was a Kang and that's now our new actor. Please do not do that. That'd be awful.
Okay, let's get through these super chats. Tom Taylor super chat. He says, I liked the Wrinkle in Time homage. I don't know what that means on Counter Earth.
Homage.
Oh, homage. Is that what he's trying to say? Okay.
I haven't seen A Wrinkle in Time.
I'm not going to call that. Well, maybe it's sort of an homage. That's a good with the ball and all that. Yeah. Well, and that's not just that movie. That's that material.
Yeah, I've never experienced it. I like the weird
the TV
Japanese
movie has
song
that scene
that
too.
plays on Counter Earth. That was funny.
I'm sorry, say again.
When they arrive, sorry.
No, go ahead, Connor. Go ahead.
No. You said something first.
Oh, I just said I like the weird Japanese song they played on Counter Earth. That was
yeah,
cool.
that was weird.
Like, the arrival on Counter Earth is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Like, it feels like you're entering the Twilight Zone. Like, it's so weird and like kind of surreal. Where it like because the animal costumes, they're not like these like CG like hyper realistic, but they're not like cheap either. They're like these weird, uncanny, kind of creepy looking animal costumes. It's really weird. Like, the music's playing and they're like stepping out and looking around. Like, it's so weird. I loved it. I love Counter Earth.
And you got that Statue of Liberty that's the High Evolutionary holding a
High
monkey.
Evolutionary.
And did you see the little girl that had a High Evolutionary plushie?
No, somebody told me about that, but I didn't notice it.
I saw it the second time.
Yeah.
It's this purple plushie. Counter Earth was a combination of two things to me, and I don't know if these were influences or not, but it was very modern Doctor Who, and it was also like Barry Sonnenfeld's entire career.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I've not read Island of Dr. Moreau, but I've seen Island of Lost Souls, which is an adaptation of it. I was reminded of that, but
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
no, I need to watch Doctor Who and Barry Sonnenfeld stuff. So, I mean, I'm sure you're right.
Yeah, like go look at uh, Pushing Daisies and Men in Black 3 in particular.
I like that all the animal people, like they were actually people in costume.
Yes, thank God
Uh,
too.
and this is like this broke the record for like the most people in prosthetics in like one scene or something, or maybe it's in an entire movie, but it beat out the Grinch movie with Jim Carrey.
Boy, it's nice that somebody did that in 2023
Hmm.
when we'd
That
usually
is
just
cool.
do it in CG. And like it makes the whole piece more respectable because there's also an insane amount of CG in this movie, and there has to be. Like it, I don't know. Sometimes that kind of thing can make the CG feel less real because it's like, well, I just saw something that looked more real than this. But I think there's a concerted effort to make the all animal sequences that are entirely CG with his friends in the past look as real as humanly possible. And like in some ways it's too ambitious and we're not there yet, but it looks as good as it's going to this year.
Oh, interesting. I didn't really have that with the CGI. Like I
Really
thought it.
liked so much about how this movie looked. Like even going to like the Orgosphere, I love that environment.
Yeah, it's
Like
Mm.
it's
really
so
creative.
cool. Like I love. I just think that like Gunn as a filmmaker has really grown. I think in the last handful of years. Like you look at the Orgosphere, like I don't think there's another filmmaker working right now who would make their movie look like that, where there's that main room that's all white and there's like these bursts of yellow and solid colors around. Like it's so good. I love it.
That whole thing was also very modern Doctor Who. And you had the creepy eyeball, like in
Oh,
the
that
Yeah.
was like
wall.
Oh.
that was like right out of Big Trouble in Little China. I wanted to cheer. It was awesome.
We've got a $5
That
super
was
chat
such a
here
cool
from
detail.
DNA. Thanks a lot. Rocket knows the HE
High
has.
evolutionary.
Oh, thank you. The High Evolutionary has escape pods, and it's not about Rocket being heroic. It's about him not being held captive emotionally by the High Evolutionary's abuse. To that conversation we had 6 hours ago.
Yeah.
So I guess that's
That's smart
suggesting
advice.
the Batman Begins thing where it's like, I don't have to save you. I guess even if he's thinking it's because he knows there's escape pods, even less that, because Batman knows there's no way Ra's al Ghul's getting out of that train. Yeah, I can see.
It's hard for me to really buy that. If it's like I just murdered 400 people to get to you, but I'm too good to kill you. It's like I don't buy it. Yeah, yeah.
I'm kind of with you there. Like, did he just have a change of heart in this moment? It doesn't read real character driven. It reads like it's supposed to be a big beat. It's like Rocket knows that he's in a movie and he's doing a big beat.
Yeah, it was exactly how it feels. Because then at the end, it's like, well, we're a team, guys. Let's go shoot all these animals coming here. It's like, I don't know. It's like you still rock it, right?
We should talk about the animal thing for a second because, Connor, I don't know if you're aware of this, but James Gunn lost his beloved dog while he made the Suicide Squad. And they like stopped filming for a day or two so that he could go be with his dog. And that is clearly a massive influence on this. And I gotta wonder how much of this, because he had a script written before he got fired, so you gotta wonder how much of the like death of, it's weird to say death of a pet, right? Because Rocket's not a pet, but you've got all these animals that they save at the end. I wonder how much of that was there already, and how much of that is him kind of doing a rewrite, from the heart after that happened. And as I'm watching it, I was a little bit worried that it was going to feel too close to that whole situation, and that that it was just going to feel like, I don't know, for lack of a better way of putting it, like the catharsis you do with high school poetry or something, right? Where it's like, this just happened and it's a different kind of self-indulgence. What I really appreciate about it is that it's not the movie saying the animals are more important than the people. It's saying that it's all life and that it all deserves to exist. So let's also save the animals. Like the kids needed to be there. Like, I really needed that. It would feel so PSA without that, and it didn't to me. But a lesser filmmaker that was just really, upset about that wanted to make a movie about animal cruelty, wouldn't have had the kids there, and I needed that. I appreciate that human beings are also in trouble, and we care about. Maybe Rocket doesn't care about both, but the movie does, and I needed that.
Well, I think it's such a good character beat too when like all the kids are off and then there's just that shot of Rocket walking in and there's just like cages and cages of animals like whimpering and stuff. Like there's like I think that's a very strong moment where you go like, oh yeah, like that's not the type of thing that you think about, like
especially because Star-Lord didn't think about it because he knew they were there, or at least that there were some other life forms there. And there's that line where it's like, I thought we were just gonna save the higher end, and Star-Lord's like, guess not.
He's like, yeah, so did I.
And then it becomes this hilarious Noah's Ark situation.
Oh, the best part about that too, to add to your PSA thing, Cap, is that it also doesn't pretend like it's just, oh, look, all the happy animals are going on. Like, the first thing that we see is somebody throws a monkey at somebody and it rips their face off.
Yeah, that was fantastic. It's like, yeah, here's how you have to pay for this.
Yeah, like, and they're just like storming through nowhere. I think that helps with the PSA thing.
That's a terrific point.
Well, with your dog thing too, I'm sure like he tweaked stuff in the script. I don't know how much it affected that, but I think definitely visuals, like especially a lot of the close-ups of Rocket's eyes, like reminded me a lot of like that, like having a dog and whatnot.
Well, I know that's some of the stuff that resonated with you the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely.
And you said the frothing at the mouth and all that was.
But yeah, well, not specifically. It was because she had like a seizure right before, so it was like that specific, like the visual of like the frothing mouth.
I'm sorry, man.
Like,
I saw it after you, and I was looking for the moment that took you out because you were like 17 minutes in, I'm done, and I got to the 20 or 30 minute mark, and I was like, I don't know if I've seen whatever it was that affected him yet. And then I had that thing where I'm like, I feel like a jerk that I wasn't affected by whatever it was that hurt Austin's feelings. Where
it was
he
like
is
a very specific thing where it was like, if that hadn't happened, like I wouldn't have thought twice about it. But I don't know, it just like hit me sideways in like the wrong way.
And lest you, the viewer, see me as a cold-hearted bastard,
You're just high evolutionary.
Well, I didn't grow up with pets, and I have them now, but I haven't been through the pet dying part of my life yet. But the place that did it for me was that scene. Not like I'm taken out of the movie, I can't watch it anymore, but just the place that really hurt my feelings was the moment that Connor brought up earlier, where Rocket's friends all die, and then High Evolutionary's mocking him, where he's just like, that resonated with me in a different way. Like, that's like, I don't know. That's I have a hard time with like parents freaking out and being really mean to children, and that was that thing.
I think because Connor, earlier you said like it's crazy that we had just like a long shot of him like wailing like that, like, and nobody was making fun of it. I also thought it was crazy just how far Gunn went with like the rabbit character having like a mental breakdown in the background where she's just like screaming the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
All this stuff with the animals, it's like, it's interesting because I've heard some people maybe raising an eyebrow that, okay, maybe it's a little like pressing the easy button, you get a bunch of cute animals or whatever, and then you kind of know where it's going. But I see, if I was a kid and I watched this movie, those animals would have scared the bejesus out of me. Like, that walrus would have like terrified me as a child.
Yeah, it's toys
cool
from
that,
X-Ray.
Yeah,
I had exactly the same thing.
But like,
it irritated me when you sent me that message today, because I was like, I thought I had this really great point, and Austin also had it, so he's gonna steal it. That it was Toy Story 3.
So yeah, but why I think the animal stuff flashback really works is that they introduce not the cute version of weird animal experiments. They are the very hyper specific kind of crazy stuff. I don't know if you guys have read Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely's We Three, but
No, I
it
need
reminded
to.
me a lot of that. But it was interesting, and then I'm able to be won over and buy into their dynamic, and like kind of as Rocket is finding comfort in them, I'm finding comfort in them too. If I'm a child, that's kind of what I think my experience is like, and that's what I think makes like them all getting taken out so heartbreaking. But man, when that baby Rocket, his first word is hurts, like
That's rough.
holy crap, like that hurts, like it really like it's a very specific thing, like needle you need to thread in terms of being um like doing the thing that will push buttons and also earning the way in order to do that, that's not going to be seen as cheap or you know transparently manipulative. Like it's really, I don't know, I thought it was very artfully and tastefully handled, and I was actually really impressed that James Gunn was able to pull that off.
Can I pull out my soapbox for a second?
Yeah.
Take it
So,
out.
okay. Uh, so a ton of people.
You're supposed to stand on it.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Okay, there we go. I'm on it. There's been a ton of discussion with this movie about how like kids should just not see this movie because of that stuff, and I feel like it would have been so much more damaging to children to be like, look at the happy little animals in their cages. Like, isn't that nice? Everything's nice and sunny. Don't feel bad about anything, kids. It's all happy. Um, and I think that's way more damaging to children than being like, yeah, look at this messed up thing in the world. This exists. It's scary, and the heroes ultimately win at the end, and like everything's good. Um, and there's like much more of a celebration of that stuff. But I think you need that darker element for it to work.
That's why it has weight. That's why you care.
Mm.
We don't have. It's so weird how the pendulum is swung on this, where we don't have like violence and consequences and real stakes in children's entertainment the way we ought to, or as often as we ought to. There's like this huge chasm, it feels like, right now, where you have kid stuff where nothing bad ever happens to anybody, and then you have really hard R ultra hyper violent stuff that you just can't take your kids to. And where's the in between? Well, this is in between, but because all people think about these days with kid stuff is like with children's entertainment is Illumination or like like the dog superhero show where nothing happens. Paw Patrol, that kind of stuff. This feels like maybe kids couldn't handle it, and I don't mean to be hyperbolic and say there's nothing like that, but there's not a lot on right now that I have noticed anyway. That's the kind of family entertainment that's for both, that parents can sit down with their kids and get them through the difficult stuff because they need to see it. They need that ending. And when I was growing up, we had more of that. I don't mean to be. I'm with Austin. I'm soapboxing now too. I don't mean to be an old man about it and be like everything was so much better when I was a kid. We had a bunch of like crappy fluff pieces where nothing bad ever happened to anybody and we didn't have violence and consequences. I wish people had been allowed to be killed in Power Rangers until just a few years ago. Like that, that kind of thing really does bug me. But I think kids should see this movie. I think there's a question as to how young.
Yeah, no, that's a fair thing to. That's up to the parent at the end of the day. But no, I agree with that. I feel like a ton of people are arguing that the animal cage stuff should be like the slave stuff in like Song of the South, where it's like, look how happy and nice this is, and it's like a weird flip around.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I guess I have a weird, like, a different perspective because, like, I don't know. Like, isn't the whole point of like having? It's like, oh man, how bleak do I want to get with this analogy? So you know how like we teach kids to believe in Santa Claus so that eventually they can come to terms that there's no God. So like when we have like animals,
Is that
it's
why?
like
I don't think
we
people know why they do that.
was
I
like,
thought it
but
was
the thing
something to
about
do with like get
animals,
ready for granddad dying or something.
well,
I'm just
but it's
joking.
like when it comes to animals, it's like, you know, people will get an animal before they have kids, so they know what it's like to take care of something. Maybe not to the degree of, you know, that of a child, but it's still something to take care of. And then similarly, because their lifespans are so much shorter than ours, you get to, you know what I mean? Like you get to like come to terms with like if you're a child and you have like the family pet, that pet dying, it's like a way of almost like acclimating to the reality of what death is. And then, you know, it's obviously worse when like a grandparent or a parent or a sibling or a family member dies, but like you at least have like the little, it's like a vaccine for death is like a pet dying or something.
Mhm.
I
Oh,
saw like my dog die like when I was 6. And so like I don't know, like it's like so when people get like really iffy about like animals dying, I gotta be honest, I'm a little, or like animals in entertainment, like I get a little confused why we want to like shelter kids from that, because like it's kind of why we have pets in the first place. I don't know.
We also just need to have more of a case by case mentality about things so that we can look at like the context of it and the reason it's being done and look at it critically and go, and instead of having a checklist where if this shows up in a movie we have to immediately turn against it because you know you should never let dogs be killed in movies or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, but why was it done though? Like what's the context of it in the movie? You know, that's called pointless censorship.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I do think this movie does have that kind of Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing where like most of the animal torture and whatnot's implied, but like people are walking away from it going like, "Oh my God, I had to watch like really graphic scenes of like animals being abused the entire movie."
So
And
real
it's
quick,
like,
two things about that. First of
really?
all, that's because it was effective, and you're not appreciating
Exactly,
that
yeah.
it worked for you. Actually, it hurt your feelings, and it should have. That doesn't mean you have to like it. I'm just saying that like they're not getting that. Well, it did what it was intended to do. I mean, he went to an animal farm place with this, and I really respect that because where has that been? You know. But then the other thing is the most graphic thing that happens in the entire movie is to the High Evolutionary. Actually, twice. It's a person. You know, it's a monstrous, horrible person, and so like you know, people that are saying, "Oh man, all these horrible things are happening to animals." The worst things that happen are to the guy that did that to the animals.
Yeah, and then the second worst thing is probably that scene where Star-Lord cuts the machine bit out of the guy's head.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up. I still don't know how I feel about Star Lord killing that guy. Hey guys, we are 2 hours in, and we've still got some super chats to get to. So I'm gonna go ahead and have us take a break if we can for just a
Yeah.
couple of minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll roll through these super chats and we'll finish up, and we'll do that as quickly as we can. So this is not the halfway point or anything. We're not going to make this a 4-hour video, but we'll come back. We'll get through the super chats. And if you guys think of any other major aspects that you want to make sure that we talk about, bring those back when we get back from the break. Thanks for being here, guys. Hope you're enjoying it. Hello, Connor. Oh, and Austin is back as well. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're back to Dinosaur Story.
Yeah, I was going to go ahead and just answer this super chat that is once again about the rocket not killing high evolutionary thing, because we beat that to death, but there's another super chat and I was like, Austin's fine with that moment, so I'll just talk to Connor about it until Austin gets back, but he's here. So anyway, DNA has another $5 super chat about this. He left super chats back to back about this, and he says, the moment isn't about Rocket being a hero for not killing. It's about Rocket saying, my identity is shaped by the Guardians, not my abuser. And then right above that, Mutale says, it played for me like he isn't worth it because Rocket foiled his plans. Connor, those are somewhat convincing arguments. Sorry, Connor, we can't hear you, man.
You're cut out, yeah. Don't make that eye movement while I'm drinking.
Yeah, I was just saying, like if that's what you get out of it, I definitely see that argument, and that's cool.
Is the problem that we've seen that trope too many times in superhero movies to appreciate what Gunn might actually be after with it? Like, is it just really difficult to communicate that if you open with, well, he's not going to kill the guy, and like immediately my head goes to, oh, okay, so like what about the other people that he killed, or like, you know, why in this moment has he decided to do that? Like I've seen it so many times, it's hard not to.
It's definitely not even just superhero things, but just stuff in general that shows up a lot.
It does, and I think, but in the case of this, I don't. For me, in this case, I don't think it was like I've seen it so many times. It did feel a little divorced from what I feel like the movie was saying. But yeah, I don't know. It maybe added to it maybe a little, like, I'm not 100% sure what the movie wants me to take away from what it, like, philosophically what it has to say. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and that's why my head goes to, okay, we're just doing this because it's a moment, just because it's a beat. But that may ultimately,
that's what it feels like.
And that's what I'm saying. That may ultimately be unfair. I mean, those are compelling arguments, particularly the idea that, well, he's already won. Like, what is the point of doing that right now? And I also like that there's not a big speech or anything, but that a speech would have explained it for me. You know what I mean? Like, I like that we're not like, well, yeah. I don't want to kill you like you killed my friends. You know, like, I'm glad we didn't do that, but then I'm wondering if that was why. Like,
yeah, I'm not sure.
All of my animal friends are dead because of you, but now I have more animal friends.
It almost would have been better maybe for me if he wasn't even in that moment so tempted, if it was just like he gets the mask ripped off and he's lying there and Rocket's like, yeah, okay, I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, as opposed to the typical, because the part that was kind of typical about it is he's holding the weapon and he drops it.
Yeah, for sure.
But
it was pretty cool to see the High Evolutionary with his face ripped off.
His face awesome. Off.
It's even more gruesome than Red Skull.
I think it might be more gruesome than Two-Face and Dark Knight. Like, it's
really
I don't
bloody.
know. Like, I think that's what it is. It's more bloody.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. It's crazy they got away with that.
And yeah, guys, as always, I'm just telling you what my feelings were as I was watching it in the theater. They're evolving. Like, the movie just came out. I watched it the second time yesterday. Like, I may be fine with that with that line on a third viewing. Like I was fine with a number of other things that I wasn't the first time around. So yeah, the point of these is just to talk these things out.
A big thing. So with Infinity War, when we saw trailers for that, and it was like very clear that some of the Guardians were coming to Earth, I was like, oh man, wouldn't it be really funny if Rocket met like a real raccoon, and it would be like a little funny moment where he's like, oh, that's what a real raccoon is. And then I feel like Gunn laughed at me and was like, no, that's not a funny idea. now here you get to see him meet a real raccoon.
How did you guys feel about I'm Rocket Raccoon?
I feel like that's everything Avengers Assemble wanted to be, but wasn't.
Well, it's the antithesis to Avengers Assemble because they wouldn't even say it. I hate those moments.
No, but we got.
Oh
No,
no,
but
no, we finally did
got
get
it in
that
Endgame.
in
That's what I
Endgame.
mean. Yeah,
I
like
see
we
what you're saying.
finally got it. Mhm. No, I thought that worked really well.
I don't know when. My first experience with it was we finally get Rocket back, and every other line is some like big one-liner or pronouncement, and I was finding that distracting. And it didn't bother me as much the second time. But yeah, I think I like that idea. Maybe a little bit less in execution than on paper. Of like he's calling himself Rocket Raccoon now.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
That again because I've not seen the first or second Guardians movie in a while, so I kind of forgot about that kind of running joke. And then here I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, as I'm watching it, and so maybe the catharsis of that was a little lost on me, but that's more on me than I think on the movie.
Should there have been maybe a moment where he and Star Lord acknowledge the fact that they're from the same planet?
I had that thought.
That would have been cool.
I think. Well, that's another thing is like I feel like Star Lord and Rocket. There's an interesting thing where they talk about like they're best friends, and I don't know how you guys kind of feel about it. I know for myself, the way I've always thought about it is it's like okay, you have like Gamora and Star Lord are kind of like the item, and then like Rocket and Groot are like the best friends, and then there's Drax, and then eventually we find a Mantis who's kind of like his pal. But when it came to obviously Groot dies at the end of the first one, so it's a baby Groot. I never got like a best friend dynamic forging between Rocket and Star Lord, and so when this kind of hinges on that, I never really bought that. At least the way the movie was trying to sell it to me, I don't think. I did feel it more like we're a team, we're like a family, and all that. But beyond just being in our family, he's not just my family; he's my best friend. Like that was a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I think for me, because Rocket uh, is like the angry teenage son, the Star Lord's dad. So like, I could kind of see like the best friend element in that kind of a way as Rocket's like maturing and becoming an adult. But I can see where you're coming from with that.
Well, that's the whole reason I'm with Connor.
Do.
I'm not totally sure I buy the terminology there. I mean, I'm not saying that I need all the characters to start calling themselves the kind of analogs they had in the second movie, where it's like,
Yeah.
you're my child, you're the weird
my child.
uncle. Like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
But in some ways, it does feel like the whole movie is about friendship, and then it's back to family again. Maybe.
I feel like the best friend thing just comes out of like you said, like we're not gonna name the analog thing. Like it's just, this is my friend. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of there more just so that they can have another, like stupid funny thing for Drax to say. Because like Drax has to be on about, no, I'm his best friend.
Oh yeah.
Kristen Ogden, $2 super chat. MCU will never have the guts to keep someone dead. I don't think anything that happens in this movie is mandated or because Marvel wanted Gunn to go some other way, with just the exception of, like I said earlier, things that they did already that he stuck with for the sake of continuity. So if the natural place for the story to go in Gunn's mind was Rocket dies or Star-Lord dies, etc., I think it would have happened. I don't think that has anything whatsoever to do with MCU not keeping people dead. I think you are right about that, but I don't think that has anything to do with this movie.
Mm-hmm. No, I think he just like it's a really strong choice to not let anybody die. Like I think most people walked into this saying, "Well, Batista's very clearly, spouting out about how he's gone after this. So like, Drax is like the easy choice for a death." And I feel like Gunn went, like, yeah, if Drax died, like that's kind of not saying anything about him as a character. Like, here's like an actual ending that says something about him.
Yeah, well, and it's the reason that he killed Yondu, because he didn't want to, but it was just he felt like the right thing for that story. And I wonder if he wasn't writing. I wonder if it wasn't the opposite of the Yondu thing. If he wasn't writing toward a character death, and then he got there and went, it doesn't actually serve a purpose.
Yeah, I wonder. That'd be really interesting. Maybe everyone died originally.
That's what I kind of thought walking into this, where I was like, I bet half of this group dies.
Yeah, well, they all die, but then the Flash enters the Speed Force and then undoes them dying. So it'd all be good.
With where all the characters are left at the end, what is each of your favorite choice with that? Because I'm very happy with Drax is just a dad again. Like I have been very unhappy with just how dumbed down Drax has been, and it almost earns it at the end of this to me, or at least it almost like vindicates it, because we remembered that he was a family guy and had his family taken away from him, and that's where all these guys start from in some way or another, is their family got taken from them. And he gets to be a dad again, and that's what he's good at. So yeah, I was moved by that, and I was really shocked that the thing I was most moved by was Drax.
No, it does feel like Gunn was kind of answering some of that criticism with Drax. But I don't know, Connor, what is your favorite ending?
I'm surprised I'm saying this, but Gamora, actually, like, I like that she comes along for the adventure. And then she's like, all right, I found my family with the Ravagers. Like, I'm out, and like just kind of seeing them all drinking and partying. I'm like, that's the right environment for that character. Like, I'm happy she's here, and it's a really cool way to tie up the whole Ravagers stuff that has been around since the first movie. I thought it was classy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the right word.
Yeah, and I like the end moment with her and Star-Lord where she's not letting him on that like there's ever a chance, but I like that she gives him that little bit of closure before she goes off with like her new family.
Yeah, I think it's less like maybe there's a chance for you and me, and more, okay, it could have happened. I get how it happened with my counterpart.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a little bit of closure as I leave.
I think it's hilarious that that version of Gamora spends the rest of her life potentially with Sylvester Stallone.
Well, that's her new Star-Lord.
Yeah, I hope they have a thing now. Austin, who is your favorite?
Oh God, I don't know if I can pick a favorite because I think they're all like pretty perfect for each character. So I'm gonna pick a meta answer and say I like that we ended on Sean and James Gunn dancing together, celebrating that they made it happen. Because they're Rocket and Dancing Groot, so that'll be my answer.
And Sean Gunn voiced the younger Rocket.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mutale.
I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask because I remember like the line that the younger Rocket has is in the trailer, but it's not pitch shifted yet, and it sounds like the Bradley Cooper Rocket voice.
So there's 3
away,
Rocket voices.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the line that you're talking about, yeah, that is Bradley Cooper, and then when he's a little baby and he says "hurts," that's a different actor. Sean Gunn's the one that is like smaller, but he's the one that is talking to High Evolutionary, where they figure out like how to make the evolution thing work.
So he's got the most dialogue with the younger version.
Yeah,
because that means that he's also talking to the animal friends, I would assume.
Yeah, but Bradley Cooper does get the scene where they all come up with their names.
Oh, okay. Weird. Mutale, super chat, thank you. If Gunn offered you guys a chance to cameo on this film, where and who would you want to be? Also, a reviewer said Cosmo and Kraglin's relationship was abusive. Austin, you're just smacking into your microphone.
Yeah, I hit my mic in anger. I don't know, who would you guys want to be?
Well, first of all, I want to address that second thing and just say it annoys me when people want to try to stop filmmakers for letting characters do bad things in movies.
I think he's just joking.
Like, at all. Well, no, he said a reviewer said Cosmo and Kraglin's relationship was abusive.
Sorry.
I bet there was a reviewer that said that and was
Sorry.
on about it and didn't like the movie partly because of it. And also they work things out at the end. Like,
so I misheard the review part. So I thought you just said that he said that was abusive.
Like,
I think he's joking.
You can make that argument.
Okay.
I don't think Kraglin is necessarily doing the right thing there, but was it like a horrible thing for Gunn to put in his movie? Like, is that what that reviewer is saying?
Fine.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I feel like if you're gonna get on a soapbox and like want to complain about that, you have a severe lack of life experience. So.
I would want to be, so for that first part, I would want to be one of the guys working for Nathan Fillion that isn't the one that Fillion hates.
Okay, you took mine. I got to think of another one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go quick.
Where he's like,
No.
I was so worried you guys were gonna take.
I
mine.
love it when
Okay.
Fillion goes, yeah, I've got one of those guys too. That seems really funny.
I like that keeps going where he meets Adam Warlock.
Yeah.
She's just like, oh my god, and he's like, yeah, I got one of
I
them
got
too.
one of those too. Fillion's wonderful, and he got a lot more screen time than I thought he would when he shows up, and that was great.
Yeah.
He gets a lot more to do than he does when he's TDK.
Yeah, or in the first one. Yeah, it's
Although
awesome.
I guarantee you TDK comes back in the second season of Peacemaker.
Probably somewhere. Yeah,
Guarantee it.
I think he'll be in Creature.
Where,
Comforts.
Oh, that could happen too.
Oh,
That could happen too.
Where would you want a cameo, Austin?
I want to be in the poker scene so I can be in a scene with Kraglin, Cosmo, Howard the Duck, and Lloyd Kaufman.
And Lloyd Kaufman.
And the like shop owner guy from the first one. I want to be in that poker game.
Okay, that's a good one.
I want nothing to
well-
do with you if Ronan's involved.
And I would just, every time he would bluff, I would look at him and go,
Oh, I thought you were going to say you'd look at him and go,
no, I would do that too. That's how I would psych him out.
I was kind of
Yeah,
excited to see him
let's
show
see.
up again. That was great.
I want to be one of the Counter Earth residents. That's what I would want to do. Give me an animal costume.
What would your animal be, though?
Would you be one of the bat ones?
Ooh. If I could be like a walking shark man, that would be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, like King Shark, but like
Yeah.
skinnier and like in like a suit. But I'd want to be that. Yeah.
The first time around, I felt really stupid seeing it again, because the first time around when Star-Lord has his speech to High Evolutionary and he says, in a perfect society, these like animal people would be beating each other up for meth. I had no idea what he was talking about. I thought it was an analogy or something, and then I'm like, oh no, he's literally talking about the people that were fighting in the alleyway. But when he said meth, I got really confused. What is this an analogy for?
I had going into.
Okay, you guys both blinked out. That was weird.
But that was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Go ahead, Connor.
I think the first time I watched it, the only time I've seen it so far, going into like the big climax, I had like this little moment, like there's a lot going on in this movie. Why did they even need to go meet the High Evolutionary to begin with? And like, oh, that's right, because they needed to get the thing out of the guy's head. Okay, gotcha. But for those 5 seconds where I had to try to remember that, like all of a sudden I look up and like the High Evolutionary is like sending a bajillion drones out, and they've split like the ship into 3 different ships, and then like nowhere's coming through the jump. I'm like, oh my god, like I'm overstimulated. Like what just happened?
When we had that shot of nowhere next to the High Evolutionary ship, my son Mikey looks over at me. Mikey's a big Transformers fan, and he goes, "Dad, it looks like Unicron." It does sort of look like like a smaller Unicron.
I like that they use that jump effect where it's like that little like hexagon or whatever, and like it's like cracking all around because nowhere's coming through it.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
I wonder how fast Nowhere can move.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it didn't occur to me that it wasn't just stationary. And so I guess it's like it's like Deep Space Nine and Star Trek or something, where like it probably has thrusters and it can move just far enough where it can go through a jump portal. But I wonder how far it can go under its own power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I imagine it's probably pretty slow.
Did you guys have
slow to start, but it's got weight on it, mass times acceleration. You can get some good force going on with that.
Connor's gonna teach us a science class. Did you guys have the language question I did through part of this, where there was a surprising amount of like actual language barrier in this that we haven't had before, where when we go to different places in the galaxy, we've always just been able to understand what people are saying, and we go to Counter Earth and we've got this huge language barrier, and it made me wonder, okay, before, when we would go see like random aliens and just directly talk to them, and they're using the same kind of slang that we do on Earth and stuff, is it the universal translator thing in Star Trek, or is it something else? Because I don't know why if it is universal translator, why doesn't it work on Counter Earth?
So it's the universal translator thing, and it's because the Counter Earth aliens, like, they've just been like created or whatever. Like they're not a part of whatever is like put into the translator. I think is supposed to be the idea.
Oh, so you both have to have one?
Yeah. So they're no.
No. Like
you only have to have one.
It's a new language. It's a new language that hasn't really been like documented yet.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because there's a line where they talk to the kids, and Nebula goes, "I don't understand them. Their language isn't in my translator."
I missed that. Okay. See,
and yeah, not mine either.
See, the kind of universal translator, this is very nerdy, the kind of universal translator technology that I'm used to is the Star Trek version, where you don't just plug languages into it. The technology can extrapolate from all the other languages that's in it and figure out new languages.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's more of what I'm used to seeing. So I didn't realize that this was a more primitive version of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it must just be like whatever's documented.
That makes sense. But I didn't get it from the movie because I missed a line. Tom, $2 super chat. Did Drax seem closer to his intelligence from Volume 1? Not to me, but the movie turned me around slightly on that by the end. I was more okay with it than I have been before.
I think to the degree that because in Guardians 2 he's not involved with any of the dark stuff, so like he never has those kind of reactions. So there's like a little bit of that in this one, but it's not as personal like it is in the first one.
Connor, do you have an opinion?
Not really. It's been a long time since I've seen the first one, and I get why you are kind of turned off by dumb Drax, but I don't know. Like I think it's funny. I like Drax in these movies.
I agree, Connor.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. You guys just gang up on me. Whatever. I don't care.
I mean, he's definitely not as dumb as he was in the holiday special. Mantis and Drax are like next level dumb in that. But, that kind of plays into the holiday.
Somehow, just because like I have a total double standard with this. Like I'm an absolute hypocrite because that all there's a part of me that is still annoyed by that in the holiday special, but because it's a holiday special, I don't care as much. I should, but I don't. Where I'm like, this is hilarious.
Oh my god, my favorite part. Okay, you know what I want from like the Guardians 3 Blu-ray release? They will not do this, but they should include the holiday special and also include a commentary track by Kevin Bacon for Santa Claus Conquers the Martian.
Oh my god. That's great. Well, I wish they'd just have Kevin Bacon just talking by himself over the holiday special. I think there's maybe a chance you'll get that. Maybe Gunn can convince them to make an exception and actually like not give it its own release, but at least put it on the Volume 3 box. Because, yeah, they're not doing releases for anything on Disney Plus, and it drives me crazy because of my anal retentive, superhero movie collection, that I can't get things that just go to that. Not that I want to have to buy all the Disney Plus shows, but I can't get them.
I remember when WandaVision was coming out, I'm like, man, I can't buy this physically, right?
And you've never had that thought again.
Exactly. When Falcon and the Winter Soldier came out, I'm like, oh my god, thank God I don't have to buy this.
Thank God there's not a landfill filled with these.
But James Gunn has done a commentary on everything he's ever made. I would be really surprised if he didn't push them pretty hard to get that released.
That would be cool. I really hope he does.
Or I say everything. Everything I've seen, he's done commentaries for. Mutale, another super chat, thank you. Did you buy Gamora being so cold in this movie, considering this is the Gamora before she met the Guardians in the first film, and she wasn't cold back then?
She's pretty cold in the first movie.
Yeah, she is pretty cold.
She's pretty cold, and she moved on with the Ravagers, who are also cold. So, like I said earlier, I think it kind of doubled down on some of that in her personality.
I do too, and I also think she is putting on airs to some degree because she's put off by Star-Lord having had a history with her. So, I think she is laying the coldness on super thick. That's an element of it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that, because there's also little moments when she's looking at Rocket, and she's a little bit more humanized.
She'll let her guard down just a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, did you guys have this? I thought we were maybe gonna take a crazy left turn with Gamora, and when there's this ominousness. Maybe it's just because there's no music. Maybe it's just how long we're with her. I thought she was gonna kill Rocket. Yeah,
that crossed my mind the first time. I was like, "Where are we going here?"
I wasn't sure why she would, but there was something really ominous about that scene where it's that thing, right, where a character you don't trust walks in. I've seen this a weird number of times. Walks in on a character that's in a coma or is passed out connected to machines and starts talking to them, having a one-sided conversation. Usually that person is going to die when that happens.
I had that thought too.
Tom put in a $10 super chat. Thanks, Tom. Now I have not yet watched Red Letter Media's review. I wanted to wait until we did this. He says Red Letter Media said in their review you could really hear Gunn's passive aggressive response to Endgame in the "Was it the mystical rock? I don't know" speech. Do you agree?
It's that elevator scene when he's explaining what happened to Gamora to Ratcatcher 2.
Okay. What do you think about that, Austin? Do you agree with that?
I think there's a little bit of that, yeah. But I don't think it's super as passive aggressive as maybe they thought it was. But I did have an element of that when he's breaking it down, and he's like, "Yeah, what do I know about this? I'm just some dumbass. I don't know."
No, I had that thought a little bit. Now that I'm getting the scene he's talking about, yeah, where it was kind of like the. It was kind of like the script speaking through the character, almost saying, this thing I did is kind of out of character for me, even though I'm the one explaining that it happened. It also, though, read a little bit like recapping, just in case somebody came into this and didn't see those movies. Did you have that?
Yeah, no, that's definitely part of why it's there.
When we cut back to Nebula and she says, you left out some important details, but that about covers it, I'm like, oh, they dropped out again. Why does that keep happening? It's like Discord or something. You guys just
weird.
keep cutting out on me. Anyway, but that scene felt like when it comes to Nebula, it kind of felt like, oh yeah, this is for the people in the audience that have missed what happened in between with the other movies, and also I don't know if passive aggressive, but maybe just kind of irritated about it. Gunn wants these 3 movies to be a piece, and he's stuck with that Iron Man problem because Iron Man 1, 2, and 3 to some degree are a piece too, except the third one is made by a different person. But they still watch like they really want to be a trilogy, and important things happen that progress that character outside of those movies. And so it doesn't really watch that way. I bet this more so than those 3 will watch fine as a marathon when you just sit down and watch it as a piece.
Yeah, there's kind of just like this one awkward thing that's just there that you just have to deal with like as a trilogy, and it's mainly in Gamora. But yeah, no, it's definitely a bit of recapping.
Yeah, that's true. Because we at least didn't add like any new characters to the team in a different movie, or
No, you might think that with like Cosmo because she's just here now.
yeah. No, you actually kind of need the holiday special. And Gunn has point blank said when people have asked him, like, do I need the holiday special? He's like, yeah, you kind of do.
Yeah, just as like here's the status quo.
Well, it's three things. It's status quo, it's just Cosmo being there, but it's also all of a sudden Star-Lord and Mantis are talking about each other like they're brother and sister. That would come out of nowhere if you didn't see the Christmas special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly.
Fidelio, $4.99 super chat. Thoughts on the villain being a subtextual stand-in for Disney? Thinking of the line, "There is no God, so I stepped in."
I actually thought about that a little.
I didn't have that thought.
Just not that line specifically, but just in the way that the High Evolutionary wants to like take things and make them into like his image. I was like, there might be a little bit of that of like Gunn kind of working through some Disney stuff. I don't know. That might be reading too much into it, but
might be one of those things that kind of works when you think about it, but that he wasn't thinking at all when he wrote it.
It could be entirely unintentional, especially because he gets a lot more freedom than like a what's his face, the Ant-Man director. Man.
But it also could be like he has this big exception to a lot of the way the other directors are treated, where he's kind of proven himself, and so more or less he's kind of allowed to do what he wants to do, and he's thinking like these other movies aren't as good, they're not allowed to be as good because of the kind of assembly line way they're put together. So like, Thanos, I'll do it myself, like I've got this responsibility to make it better because I actually kind of can. Like, yeah, he can't full on hate Disney Plus. They let him make the holiday special.
Yeah, I want to know what Gunn's contract when he got back with Disney looks like, because he got to do the holiday special. He got to drop like the first F-bomb in the MCU, which was like a big fight that the Spider-Man movies wanted to do that they weren't allowed to do.
Oh, was it really?
I want to know how much he got, like he fought like in his contract, like, yeah, I'm coming back, but I'm gonna get like all of this stuff. I don't know.
You can't say no.
Yeah.
Tom Chillo super chat. Spider Groot was kind of cool. My theater laughed. I wasn't even thinking Spider. I was just like, oh, we did that thing where it's a head on spindly legs. You know how much I love heads on spindly legs.
I wasn't even thinking of that scene. I was thinking of when he has like the 8 arms.
Oh, maybe that's what he's talking about.
No, it probably is that spider thing, because that's more accurate. I was thinking about it in the Doc Ock way, where it's like, oh, he's an octopus. He's got 8 arms.
When he's got all those guns, and that was kind of a neat reveal where all these arms pop out and he's got guns. Was he able to sneak them in, or did he take them off of guys?
No, he snuck them in. They were like buried under his skin.
Okay, I thought maybe that's what it was. His bark.
His bark, yeah.
His bark was worse than his bite.
His Groot kill them all moment is so good.
Well, and that felt like a callback to the first movie in the prison scene.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's basically that Rocket and Groot fighting them scene, but with him and Star-Lord. You even get that moment where Star-Lord like ducks down and Groot like grows cover for him. But I like that since Star-Lord can't ride on his shoulders, he's like going between his legs and stuff. It was really cool.
DNA $2 super chat. Cap Ego says in volume 2 that he has heard of Star-Lord. Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, he does know about Star-Lord.
Yeah, but he knows about him because of the Power Stone thing. And Guardians 2 takes place like a few months after 1.
Yeah, well, we don't need to belabor this whole thing again. I still think it's weird he couldn't find him. Tom $2 super chat. Stan Lee cameo was cool. Thoughts? I don't know what he's talking about.
There's like in the credits where there's like the pictures from all the different movies, there's just a picture of Stan Lee in one of them. So it's not like really a cameo, but like there's a picture of Stan Lee there.
What did you think of?
Favorite Stanley cameos from Guardians 2.
Yep, it's the best one, like, by far for the MCU.
What did you think of the choice of just doing, pictures from all the movies in the credits?
I was shocked there was an Infinity War picture. It was cool. Connor
says he likes it, but the first 3 seconds of anything he says right now, for some reason, is always missing. So he has to talk longer before we can get to hear anything Connor is saying.
You know what was cooler than the pictures in the credits, though, is that this got to have like a Guardians-themed Marvel logo. That was cool.
Yeah, that was good. And speaking of that, one of my favorite things was the alien sign. The physical alien sign that's in the shape of the Guardians logo they put up, and then it's written in English underneath it. And then the foreshadowing of 10 minutes later, we destroyed that sign because the Guardians are going to be splintered and they'll never be the same again. Like, when the movie's over, we've got a different team of Guardians. I really like the foreshadowing of that.
Well, see, what I really like about that is that it that felt so comic booky to me. Like, I can see in my head the cover of like someone getting thrown into the logo. As
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah. When earlier
or
Connor
splash page
said that
at the front.
scene was super comic booky. That was the exact moment I was going to bring up. Yeah, like it feels exactly like you said, like a cover. Like I feel like Adam Warlock grabbing the cover, or like the logo on the cover. Like it's awesome.
So cool.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Here's another super chat from Mutale. So what afterlife do you think Lila Teefs and Floor are in, and are you glad Lila wasn't voiced by Lady Gaga, which was a rumor? I mean, if she did a good job, who cares?
Yeah.
I think that was like a rumor, and that people went, "Oh, Bradley Cooper and her were in A Star Is Born. She should be Lila or Lila in this movie." It's like I don't know if that was like ever actually on the table, as opposed to just one of those things.
Mm-hmm. Gaga's a decent actress. I'd like to see her try her hand at voice acting, maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't be against it. But Linda Cardellini was really good. She was good.
The afterlife thing is completely ambiguous, and that was another thing that struck me as kind of a standard movie trope, where it's like he's dreaming that they're in an afterlife, and they're saying kind of, rhetorical nonsense lines. Like, I didn't get a lot from that. The whole, like, hand that guides the hand thing, I thought was maybe pushing things a little too far, but
I feel like that scene maybe goes on a little much. Like where I thought it was gonna go is that he's like, I want to die. Like, yes, I want to be with my friends, and then he gets sent back to like life, and he's like angry that he wishes he was dead. Like, I thought that's where it was going.
It's like Buffy season 6. You sent me to heaven, and then you pulled me out of it.
And it's like, I think that, it's been your story all along. That's where it kind of gets to be a little much for me. It's like, I don't need you to tell me that much, but it is a sweet scene.
No, I agree with that. That's definitely one of those self-indulgent moments. I think for me, like, I'm so not with Rocket in that scene that I'm like kind of, at least on my second viewing when I was more focused on it, I'm so much more with Star-Lord in that scene because I'm enjoying the kind of thematic thing of that's him saving his mom from the first movie, and I'm so much more into that moment that I'm not the Rocket thing just kind of passes by and I'm not really as focused on it. So like that was my experience watching it.
It felt really obligatory to me. That's what we on movies and television. That's what we tend to do in that scene. Is like you think you're gonna die and you're being pulled out, and then you have to be ambiguous and make the audience wonder: did we actually touch the afterlife, or was he just imagining it? And like, is it fate that he still has things to do? And like, Deadpool 2 did it.
Yeah. Have you seen? Well, no one's seen this movie, but it was a crappy faith-based 90 Minutes in Heaven. Like, it starred Hayden Christensen, Kate Bosworth, and McDonald's. And
wait, did you just say and McDonald's?
Yes. I don't know what the product placement budget was, but
Oh, we're doing
whenever
this
there
on
was a
After
hospital,
Dark, Austin.
yeah, it is. But like, it's like Hayden Christensen gets into a car accident, and then he's just like in a hospital for 2 hours. He's just like sitting there and he's bad at acting, and it's just like the worst movie ever. And then at the end, he's like, I went to heaven, and I was there for 90. I died for 90 minutes, and then I came back to Earth, and whatever. And they're always eating McDonald's. And then like it's the most boring movie ever. But then it's like you finally get to see the heaven sequence. He's like, there was this one guy I knew who was dead, and he was there. But this other person I knew, and they were dead, and they were there too. And it's like that for 20 minutes. I'm like, this is the worst movie ever. But at the very least, Guardians 3, it wasn't 90 minutes in heaven. So at least that.
I just want an edit now where he comes back and he's like, I was in heaven and now I'm back on Earth. And then Will Smith is like, welcome to Earth.
That'd be great.
Okay, try to get through the rest of these super chats. Senior Sticks, fight on the super chat. I'll just field this real quickly because it's not about this movie, but he just responded to the thing I said earlier about Power Rangers. He said, if people are killed in Power Rangers too often, is it too real? The problem with that show was just kind of having your cake and eating it too, where sometimes it seemed like people could actually get hurt. And some of the time it's just, very, very cartoony. So, like, you kind of have to pick one. How heightened is it? And that show has that problem of trying to make kids think that someone has died, and then you find an excuse to bring them back later. We're like, no, they were never dead, and it would just be nice if they had the guts to act, even if it's off screen, let characters actually be dead and never come back, because that's real. And so again, having cake and eat it too, you're trying to make kids think that there are actually stakes, but then you go, no, don't worry, that character was actually fine the whole time. That's what I'm talking about. Nobody cares about this. DNA, $2 super chat. Cosmo / Kraglin arc felt so contrived and lame, in my opinion.
Tacked on to me. Like, we need to make sure that we have like the people at nowhere, so that when we bring them back, like, we can have like a thing. It wasn't very strong. I agree.
Yeah, it was there.
I was also disappointed that Kraglin, in particular, didn't get more screen time, because he was really built up between 2 and the Christmas special as he's a Guardian now, and I thought he'd be with them.
Yeah, especially after 2, I thought he would have more to do.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like they keep talking about how he's a Guardian now, and he kind of isn't until the end credits scene. So yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, no, that's true. But like, I think Gunn made all the fans think he was supposed to be a Guardian now.
Mm-hmm. And I just like Cosmo because I like Cosmo in general.
And the way we brought Rooker back in a Vision was also the most obligatory, obvious possible thing to do. And I didn't like that at all. And I already don't like the I use my heart thing with him. Like, actually coming out and saying it makes even less sense now. Kraglin wasn't there for any of that. Right?
It just means that I'm right that he says things like that, Cap.
I guess. But unless he said that verbatim once to Kraglin, I don't know why Kraglin would imagine him saying it. But maybe it's like the actual afterlife again, like with the animals. Maybe we touched the real afterlife.
Cosmo's telepathic, so she pulled that out of Star-Lord's mind and put it into Kraglin's.
Cosmo is not telepathic.
Yes.
Cosmo is telekinetic.
It's all the same thing.
No, it's not. Is Cosmo also telepathic?
In the comics, I guess not in the movie, I guess.
Okay. Is Cosmo Jean Grey? Cosmo
Basically.
That's why Jean Grey level powers?
Jean Grey, if Jean Grey was a dog.
Matthew Bastille, super chat, favorite song choice. For me, it's Creep with the opening. That was kind of too brilliant. And I liked other things, but it's not all coming back to me yet. I need to listen to that soundtrack some.
What was your favorite song, Connor?
Thinking. I've seen it once. Yeah, I'm not sure. I will get back to you guys when I watch it again. I'll post it as a comment below. That's what I'll do.
Awesome. What's
Yeah,
yours?
comment below, let us know. Mine is easily No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Uh, because you get the awesome scene of them walking forward, but then you get that awesome hallway fight scene.
So that song was the only thing I didn't like about the hallway fight. Like,
Oh.
I love the hallway fight. It's brilliant. It could have been any other song. I like.
Oh, I don't agree at all. I think so. It's not lyrically, but I like because the Beastie Boys is very much three guys that like work really well bouncing off of each other, and I like it as a choice in that way.
So that would have been over my head because I don't like that band and I wouldn't have thought of that. But also, Gunn is usually really good at picking songs that aren't used all that often, and that shows up all the time.
No, and that's definitely true.
That's what I didn't like about it. Is like I just saw that in the Mario movie. Like,
well, and
it
I
shows
think,
up all the time.
I think the Mario movie made it better here because it's really embarrassing in the Mario movie where I'm like, don't do this, stop.
Well,
and
that shouldn't have any popular music, but
yeah. Well, it's also weird because they're both like one take shots, but and they both have Chris Pratt. But
yeah, no, that's true. He's just married to that song now.
Chris Pratt. It's like that Bob Marley song and Will Smith where like
yeah, exactly.
Don't worry, bad thing. Will Smith to show up on the set and be like, in 2007, we're putting Bob Marley in my movie, okay?
Mm-hmm. No, I think with No Sleep Till Brooklyn for me, it's like it gets played in a lot of movies, but it kind of like wipes away everything for me. Where I'm like, this is now the movie I'm going to think about when I hear this song. Because I thought it was so effectively used.
Well, some of this just ends up being a taste thing. Because, like I said, I don't like that band.
No, and I like the Beastie Boys a lot.
They messed up Star Trek. So like,
that's a stupid reason.
No, it's not. I'll never forgive that. Like, if we had to have that kind of popular thing suddenly show up in Star Trek, why did it have to be that? Like,
because the Beastie Boys are awesome. Anyways.
I went to an Offspring concert where they were the opening act and then it was Beastie Boys and I left. Like, that's how much I don't care about that band. Like, I went for Offspring and I left after that. I don't care.
Cap is roasting them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can like it. But I'm not going to pretend like I do.
I am indifferent towards the Beastie Boys.
I don't get it. But yeah, I think
like
that could have been any other song.
After eating garlic bread.
I don't know what that means.
I'm joking that you left before the good part, but anyways.
DNA $2 super chat. I don't know what this means. Lila in the afterlife spoke like hippie Mekros. What is Mekros?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, DNA. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that is. Might have to Google it. He leaves another $5 super chat. Unfortunate that the songs in this movie are more incidental than prior movies because Yondu didn't pick them for Quill while Meredith did. You know what? I liked that about it. I liked that they've got the Zune. There's a bunch of songs. Everybody's picking songs for different reasons. I like that it's actually still incidental. Like, when you say more incidental, I think it would have been really easy to cop out and have half the songs just be choices and not actually be, or just, score and not actually be in scene, and they're all still in scene.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually like that about it, and I like the eclectic assortment, and I was okay with the fact that it doesn't really have a sound, in a way that I wanted to originally to have more of a sound, and then I started appreciating the choices specifically for Austin and I've talked about this for thematic and relevance in lyrics and stuff. And this movie, it was like everybody's got an arc, or at least a lot of characters have an arc, and so everybody's kind of got their song, and I think that really works.
Yeah, absolutely. What was I gonna say with? I don't know. I can't remember what my point was. Anyways,
sorry, Connor.
I was gonna say, like, I do like the music in here. I think Guardians 2 still is my favorite soundtrack.
I agree.
The best needle drop. I mean, that has all the best needle drops. But I really like the scene where they're Yondu and Rocket are killing people. It's a great montage,
Yep.
and a wham bam, a shang-a-lang, and a sha-na na 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 thing. Whatever, it's great. But the thing about two that I really liked was I remember a week before they announced the playlist, I was driving and Brandy by Looking Glass came on. This would be a great song for a Guardians movie. And then a week later, it was there, and then it's like the song from that movie. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Over the years, I've had a few instances of, oh, I hope this song is going to be in Guardians 3. And none of them did that, which is okay. But
DNA says, I meant more that the song choices don't provide background characterization the way Meredith's choices with the awesome mixes did. Well, I think 1 and 2 are still doing somewhat different things, like even those movies with the with the song choices. Like, it's a lot more thematic and about what's really happening in the story with 2, where 1, it's kind of more about specific situations and Star-Lord himself. And verdict for me is out with the 3rd movie because I haven't had time to analyze those choices yet.
Mm-hmm.
So you might be right, but I'm not prepared to say that.
Mm-hmm. I like the choice so in Guardians 2, I was like, in the Southern Nights scene where Rocket fights all the Ravagers, I always liked the choice that Rocket's humming during that scene. Like, he's starting to get into the music. I like that we built on that, and he's like, every scene that he's in where we have music, like he's singing along in the background. I thought that was really cool.
DNA says it says something about Meredith that she loved Brandy so much we can't read into Yondu that way with the Zune. The way that I think the thing though is the premise with this. So, it's uneven, I guess, if you need all that to really connect up. Like the first 2 movies, it's all selected by one person. The Zune is introduced as a thing that's got music on it and nobody selected it. Or like not a particular person we know it. Like Yondu didn't pick all the songs that were on the Zune, right? Like it just came from Earth. Somebody had songs on it. Was how I thought that went.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's it.
I don't know. I saw a Twitter thread, so it doesn't count. But it was like, Yondu started deleting songs that he didn't like off of it. And if that's the case, then knowing Yondu, there should pretty much be exclusively like Ted Nugent and like Creedence Clearwater Revival being like on that Zoom.
My favorite part about that, because it was Gunn that said that, he was like, Yondu started deleting songs. The first song he deleted was, oh my god, what's that song?
City on Rock and Roll.
Yeah, we built the city on rock and roll, and I'm like, yes, that's a major win for Yondu.
Oh, Austin, the Mikros thing was from Nightfall. You remember the guy with the metal robot body? Yeah.
That's right.
He said it's a reference to the moron from Nightfall who only spoke in cryptic blurbs you mentioned in a recent video. I'm sorry, I forgot all about that. Yes.
I forgot about it.
And I took
that sucked.
I took the Mikros excerpt out of that and I made it its own video, and that's what he was talking about.
Oh, okay.
Because that part was really funny.
Yeah, that guy sucked. That was like reading Nightfall and then Taserface showed up.
Okay, guys, we are at 3 hours. I knew this would be a long one. Anything else we haven't talked about yet that you guys really want to make sure we bring up?
I think Adam Warlock is kind of like the element that feels a little like it's hovering around the story as opposed to really being ingrained in it. I do think Will Poulter is really funny as Adam Warlock, though. I like him a lot in the role. I like that actor in general. He's like a really cool like character actor, but he's like in his 20s, maybe early 30s now. Like I actually really like him a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought he did a really good job with the role. I'm excited because like we do the kind of early comic Adam Warlock here where he's a child, and I like that when you get to the after credits scene, you get a bit more of that like sophisticated Adam Warlock thing. So I guess we'll see a lot more of that.
Where you can tell we've got a guy that can play that.
Yeah, exactly.
He just didn't get much of it yet.
Cool. Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Elizabeth Debicki plays Aisha. She's like the wife Cap from Tenet, like the Kenneth Branagh's like tall wife. That
Okay.
actress, I think, is 6'3", and I think it's great that she's finally in movies where she's like 6'3". So like High Evolutionary
They
needs
don't have to
like
try to
good
make
on
her
the
look
step
smaller.
ladder. Yeah, yeah. Oh, she needs to be a Tom Cruise love interest stat. So, but there's like that part in Tenet where she's tied up in the back seat, and they're like, "You gotta unlock the door on the driver's side," and she has to like reach over with her heels and like click it because she's so tall and she can do it. I'm like, "Hey, right on."
Open the effing door.
If she was Tom Cruise's love interest, that would be like Rocky versus Drago.
Well, anybody excited about the Marvels?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch something else instead.
Yeah, look, I did not see the trailer for the Marvels until I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And it was just nuts to like watch Guardians 3 and be like, wow, you know what? Like maybe Marvel it's better than I give it credit for right now. Like and then I think, oh yeah, I saw a trailer for the Marvels, which looks like a bunch of people just kind of shrugged and like, well, we have to release a movie at some point in the last quarter of 2023. So
We
we're a
made a
team
movie that
now.
made $1 billion, but that people don't seem to be that into. But it's got to have a sequel, right?
Well, and it's the Marvel thing of, well, you know what? We have so many friggin' characters. Everything's a team now.
Everything's a team.
Shang-Chi's movie is going to be Shang-Chi's movie for 15 minutes, and then it's going to be a team movie.
Yeah.
Huh? It's like, God.
Black Widow's
The
got to be a
Marvel-
team movie.
Yes. The Black Widow, the whole thing about, found family and you're not your past, she's going to have her own solo movie where she has a found family and, you're not your past, it's a very different character arc that we've seen from her. Like, I'm just so sick of all this stupid Marvel crap. Except for Eternals. Eternals was awesome, all right? And then I really like
But
Guardians.
Eternals has a title that's plural, so it can be a team movie because it's plural.
Well, that's the thing, though, is like, so you have like these stories that are setting themselves up as character-driven, like singular protagonist stories, and then they put them in a plot that is an ensemble plot. And then it's like with Guardians and then Eternals, it's like, okay, these are not singular protagonist stories; they are a group ensemble story with an ensemble plot. So it's not that awkward mismatch. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, Plushie DX. I know about that. So the Marvels got delayed from summer, which is probably smart because they don't want that going up against Flash. Like that'd be a mistake. But that comes out in November now, and I don't think it's gonna make any more money there.
We'll see. I saw the trailer and went like, yeah, that was kind of nothing. I don't get why everybody's hating on it, but like it doesn't look good. And then I saw it in the theater and I was like, okay, I kind of get it now. That was like 2 minutes of shrieking.
Yeah. It's like, well, and also there's nothing to latch onto, but look at this quirky sitcom premise.
Full sitcom premise.
That's all it is.
It's like, well, what do we do for a sequel? I don't know. They can switch
Freaky
places
Friday.
now, I guess. We haven't done that with superheroes yet, right? Like,
it
Christ.
looks like Brie Larson's whole role in that. I mean, you never know, right? Like they could just be showing us all the shots where she does this, but it looks like all they've given Brie Larson to do is just look really confused and uncomfortable. Like every look is just like, why am I in this movie? What's happening right now? And I can't tell if she's frustrated or if that's the character written on the page. Like it seems like maybe the comedy is supposed to come from, God, really? What am I doing? What I have to do this? And I'm afraid it's going to come off like this is a human being that never wanted to have to deal with Earth problems ever again.
Well, and like so I enjoyed the first 2 episodes of Ms. Marvel largely because of that actress who plays Ms. Marvel. Like she's really charming and likable. Man, like if I had not seen that show and I just saw this trailer, I'd be like, what?
And she might be way more obnoxious in that movie. Like the whole movie could be like that.
I didn't realize that until seeing it in the theater that every single line of dialogue she has in that trailer is shrieked, and I was like, oh man, this is brutal.
And I'm just annoyed that the stupid alien cat is all over it again.
Yeah.
And I feel like the characters, like the power swapping thing, because it's just Fantastic Four 2 again, except they like teleport to each other
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Austin. I mean, Connor, look at his face.
but that feels like an idea you have for a set piece, not a movie.
Not a whole movie.
If-
And
yeah,
maybe
if
you'll
it's
get
a
past
single-
that
if-
after the first act or the half
Maybe.
through the second act, or maybe it'll be like Ant-Man 2, where we finally get to what should have been the premise 15 minutes in, but at the very end of the film.
I just have a hunch with the way Quantum Mania and like Ant-Man and the Wasp and like all these other Marvel movies have kind of been doing for a little bit, even like Wakanda Forever to some degree. It'll just be a lot of spinning its wheels, and then at the end they'll say, "Oh, Rogue," and then people go, "Well, it was worth it because Rogue was at the end. We did nothing for 2 hours." I don't know if Rogue's in the movie or not, but it'll, you know what I mean? Like it'll just be like, okay, we're just shrugging our shoulders, kind of throwing lights at the camera, and then at the end, it's a comic book thing. So we built the world technically. I just.
Oh, do people think that because she's a mutant, they're going to do X-Men stuff?
Oh, I
I
don't
think it's
know.
just using that as an example.
Oh, okay.
I'm using it as a placeholder. I could say like a nihilist
Anything.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Why are they switching powers? A cosmic thing. Ooh, we built the world. Everybody like, yeah. I don't know. I don't like it.
Meanwhile, it
like
comes
the
off
reverse.
of a Guardians movie that does do lots of cool world building stuff. Like, you don't get to say that.
Who was Marvel in this?
So it was Phyla-Vell. It was the little girl that's in the team at the end, and she's throughout the movie because she's like the main kid that they talk to. But that's Marvel's daughter in the comics.
Yeah, but in the movie, it has
okay.
nothing to do whatsoever with Marvel. She's not Phyla-Vell anymore. She's
we,
just
cut that
Phyla.
away. She's just Phyla. Yeah.
They didn't
Okay,
tack the
okay.
Vell on because
And
Marvel's a totally different character in Captain Marvel,
Yeah.
and that's probably not her daughter.
I don't think I've ever seen somebody like perfectly describe a character by what music they like better than Phyla-Vell saying that she likes both Britney Spears and Korn.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
That's like 100% spot on Dabney landing Phyla-Vell.
And then it cracks me up. See, it's been too long since I've read that stuff. And then it cracks me up. Yeah, I mean, I guess I've experienced that character because I read their run, but it's just been too long.
She's like, because she's Quasar at the start, where she's like, like a regular hero, and then by the end she becomes like goth, and she becomes martyr.
That's right.
It's like you got the Britney Spears and you got the Korn.
It's been 5 years since I read that. And then it's really funny when Rocket just says, "Both great choices."
Yeah, no, that makes it even funnier.
All right, well, are you guys ready to wrap up here?
Yeah.
Everybody, thanks so much for watching and listening. Really appreciate your interaction in the comments, live viewers, and thanks for the super chats, guys. And we will be back again later next week for, or I guess this week. It's Sunday. I guess the week is supposed to start on a Sunday. We'll be back with a request on Wednesday, a Captain Logan show on Thursday, and the plan right now is Austin and I are going to do the Suicide Squad commentary finally after the Captain Logan show late Thursday night, but we'll let you know if that changes. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan, and we had Austin the Day Ghost.
I love you guys.
And Connor the Nielsen.
Catch out.
Bye, everybody.